Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final last night, a thriller. Just never know in sports. You got two teams that have ridden outstanding defense and goaltending in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, of course, we end up with a 5-4 game. I mean, logically, why wouldn't we, right? Vegas wins 5-4 after giving up 2 goals right out of the gate and digging a big early hole. They storm back and win. In the final 5 minutes, it was just back and forth. It was outstanding. Carolina tied it up with about 8 minutes ago, I guess about 4 minutes ago, when Vegas scored to win the game 5-4. And the thing is, like, Vegas plays multiple 5-4 games, actually, with the Mammoth in the first round. But getting the second round, first with Anaheim, then the conference final with Colorado, in 10 games, they gave up 20 goals. They were giving up 2 goals a game. They were not letting teams light the lamp. 2 goals a game just isn't going to win much. And it didn't win much. They went 8-2 in those 10 games. And then they roll in to play a Carolina team that was even hotter, 12-1. And they were giving up about a goal and a half a game. So naturally, it's 2-1 after one period. 3-3. 5-4, just unreal. I can't explain it. Now, it wasn't all bad defense. A lot of it was, where do you lose the puck? And there were a couple egregious giveaways in really bad spots. But there are also some bad defending. You can't let people post up in front of the goal. You got to put a body on them. You got to shove them out of the way. Got to hit them. Got to bang on them. Can't let them get comfortable. So there was some ridiculous stuff going on. But, you know, the cross-ice passes, just begging to get picked off. Just begging. I mean, dump the puck in a corner and go get it. Do something safe. Ridiculous. So Vegas made some mistakes, but so did Carolina, and Vegas survives and wins. So now we'll see how this goes when they get to Game 2. But first, they're off tonight, and we've got the NBA Finals Game 1. Spurs, Knicks, who are you rooting for? I mean, it is hard to root for a New York team, but San Antonio's won so much, there's a fair amount of jealousy. I suppose you root for the small market team. Maybe you root for the West because you're in the West. New York just, you know, people get tired of hearing about New York, the national media being a bunch of homers and everyone going nuts. I think there is an argument to be made that the sooner San Antonio excels and the bigger everyone has to be paid, the more likely they are to have to break it up a little bit. So, you know, and the funny thing is, I mean, Wembanyama's awesome, and he's going to have an awesome career, but he's got to have a team around him. You want to go all the way back to Wilt Chamberlain, didn't have a team around him. Only won twice. Only twice. But considering the stats he put up. And I just wonder with Wembanyama, you know, will it be a little bit like the Joker? The Joker's awesome. Everybody thinks the Joker is awesome, but doesn't have a good enough team around him. You know, there were years where they just could not compete when they went to the bench. They just got obliterated. You got to have that deep roster. So maybe there's something to San Antonio. I mean, a bunch of guys there are going to get paid, but, you know, if they win bigger, get paid bigger, people get a little more aggressive coming for their guys in free agency or restricted free agency. The combination of injuries and the second apron acting like a really firm, just a hard salary cap like the NFL has, that second apron wears people out and makes them move guys. So maybe that will help not only the Jazz, but the entire West. You know, we'll see if that team gets broken up because of money. So I think that's something to watch tonight. It'll be interesting to see what Cat does. He is he's quite the X factor here. If Wembanyama has to go guard him, that pulls him a long way away from the hoop. You got to respect Cat on the three-point line. So I think Karl Anthony Towns' ability to hit a couple early shots so that Wembanyama's got to stay out there, I think that's a big thing to watch tonight. We'll see how that plays out. And then we got some other news. Got some football news. the analysis, all the breakdowns of these moves, the big trades happening. And I think that for starters, I love the Rams going for it. I don't know if it'll work or not, but go for it and give us a story. And they did. And that welcome press conference, now everyone's tracking down Aaron Donald. Well, would you come back? He says, if I can find the fire. I mean, he's been out a while now. And if you can't find the fire, what are you doing? Now, assuming you could get peak Aaron Donald, that would be awesome. But he's going to want to be paid. And then what does that do to the rest of the roster? To me, this feels like people want to know, and, do your job if you're covering the Rams or the NFL and go get a quote from him. But the likelihood just doesn't seem likely to me. Nor do I know that the Rams need it. I think they've got to be the favorite now. Certainly Seattle's the champ and San Francisco is right there. I do wonder, man, the Niners are older and they seem injury prone. A little bit of a fall there. Philadelphia, got to do it without A.J. Brown. Maybe it'll be a little addition by subtraction. I suppose if you're an Eagles fan, you got to help that. Will the Bears take another step forward? Now they have a tougher schedule now. Don't get to play a fourth place schedule. Got to play a first place schedule. And that division's pretty tough. Although the NFC West is also. So it's, there's definitely some compelling storylines. I mean, Seattle was riding a third place schedule and now they get a first place schedule. So there's definitely stuff to watch there. I think what the Patriots did has got to be applauded. They couldn't run it back. Teams that lose the Super Bowl, there tends to be a hangover, especially if you're losing with a younger quarterback who's never been there before. I mean, if you lose with Brady, you can bounce back. If you lose with Manning, you can bounce back. But it's hard otherwise. It's hard for quarterbacks to make it to multiple Super Bowls. So, if you lose one, can you get back? And the answer for a lot of guys is no. So I think doing something to make the game easier, give them a little extra juice. Before A.J. Brown was in Philly, he was in Tennessee. And, of course, Vrabel was in Tennessee. I expect it's going to end poorly in New England in 3 years. They're going to have to move him. But if you get 1 or 2 big years out of him first, maybe it's worth it. I think Denver has something to prove. That was pretty disappointing for the Broncos to get all the way to the AFC title game, not have their quarterback, and still be very competitive and nearly win the game and go to the Super Bowl. So keeping Bo Nix healthy, I think Denver is the lead dog and the big dog. Maybe Buffalo, maybe the Chargers. PK likes the Ravens. I can see the Ravens getting to the playoffs, but it seems like they're headed the wrong way. Again, key guys getting older, including the quarterback, not as athletically dominant as he was early on. And so it's I just don't know that. And they've never been a good playoff team. Now Harbaugh's gone. They got new leadership. Maybe that'll change things. I'm not big on, okay, we're going to change. We can't change 50 players, so we'll change one coach. But it did just work for Vegas and the Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup final, and it is working for the Knicks. So, hey, who's to say? Maybe. I actually think Harbaugh, that's a pretty compelling story with the Giants. They get a fourth-place schedule. They'll have Scadaboo presumably healthy all year. He obviously got hurt last year. They're not playing a rookie quarterback now. They're playing a second-year guy in Jackson Dart. So that should help. And we have seen teams like that take a big jump. I'm not sure what Washington's doing. They had a big year, then they had injuries and they had a down year. Where are they going to be? Dallas always gets a ton of hype, but I don't know. Dallas, it kind of looks like 10-7 there. It'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how much progress the Giants make. It's been a bit chaotic there, and for quite a while now. And Harbaugh coming in, I've said this a couple times before. His brother did it with the Chargers in a chaotic situation, and they've been better. And the Broncos, definitely same thing. Bring in an experienced coach, been a little chaotic there, find a quarterback, and suddenly everybody's marching in the same direction, and they're a playoff team 2 years in a row. And, the one seed in the AFC, bad luck with the quarterback health, but I think bringing in that experienced coach, and if you want to go back a few years, that's what Kansas City did with Andy Reid. Now they look awesome, and people talk about a dynasty, but look at all the playoff wins Kansas City had in the previous 30 years. Yeah, not good. Not good. I mean, really, if you want to go back 50, they had a nice little run just a couple years Montana was there. But the Chiefs' postseason history was not good. They won like the fourth Super Bowl, and then it got pretty lean. So now they're on a great run. So I think that keep an eye on Harbaugh and the Giants. All right, and then the baseball. I don't know if you saw Joe Adele, Anaheim. The Angels, old school. I'm probably going to say California Angels next. The Angels playing the Rockies, and a fly ball to right center, and Adele's racing into the gap and hits his glove, hits his head, and goes over the fence. Yeah, I know. You think you've seen that before. Jose Canseco. Yes. And there's video out there that was recirculating again last night. 5 or 6 years ago in Texas, it was during the pandemic because there were no fans in the stands. They had like cardboard cutouts. A ball hit his glove and shot over the wall. Did not hit his head, but it did hit his glove, and it was not getting out. If he had just let it drop, it would have been, an extra base hit. But it went off his glove and over the wall. Now, also earlier this year, he made a game with, I think it was 3 just dramatic catches, just pulling one home run after another back in the ballpark. So, it's baseball. Stuff happens, and that happened. It was a blowout. I guess it's not like it was a one-run game, right? The Rockies ended up winning 8-2. So it's still embarrassing, though. It's pretty goofy looking. So, but I guess it is what it is, and you're an accomplished major leaguer. You just roll with it. Why not? Just keep going. What else are you going to do, right? So there you go. A little bit of baseball news. I was super disappointed in my Padres. Beaten by the Phillies, who swept them in San Diego. Now a week later in Philly, it's starting out poorly. Don't like it. Did like what baseball did yesterday with Lou Gehrig Day. I think it's the 6th year they've done that. The Jackie Robinson, that's – I'm trying to think now. I've been – honoring Jackie for 25, maybe 30 years. I might be off. Getting bad with time. But doing a great job, baseball. Recognize your history, Tell the stories. These are incredible stories. So, hey, why not? The bad news for the Yankees that Aaron Judge has to see a specialist for a bone bruise. Well, that's not good. It's near his shoulder. So, bad news, but what are you going to do? All right, DJ and PK, got to take a break here. That's some of what's going on in sports. We got Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Definitely looking forward to that. Coming up next, Steve Cleveland on the NBA Finals. We'll talk with him next. Stay with us. DJ PK and Steve Cleveland is checking in, a former BYU basketball coach, former Fresno State coach. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
It's the New York Knickerbockers and the San Antonio Spurs. Steve, what do you expect? What do you think? Give us some genius. What do you got?
It's interesting because the Knicks right now are going to do something. If they can win here and get where they need to be, everything is historically dominant. It's a playoff winning streak, 11-game winning streak. Sweeping both the Sixers, though the Sixers didn't have everyone there, and the Cavs. But they do bring a really deep front court, and they have size. And we'll have to see. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, along with Mitch Robinson. You know what? There are good things there. And I think we're kind of looking at it more of a Wemby era right now. Defensive Player of the Year, kind of carried the Spurs and had a grueling 7-game series against OKC, the defending NBA champs. And really what's happening here, the goal is hopes that this young superstar can be the best player on the floor. 4 games, to secure the title. So it begins with San Antonio Spurs. Knicks are going to be the underdogs. It's funny. I don't really have a best pick for myself. I kind of like the idea that the Knicks can be relevant again. And it's been a long time since they've been relevant. And there's nothing against, San Antonio, but I'd like to see the underdogs find a way to win this thing and go from there.
We talk about how you've got to be big, you've got to have size. Well, Jalen Brunson doesn't have that, but yet he continues to succeed. And one of my theories, and I wanted to run by you, like you take a guy like Paul George, he was probably a short guy at some point, and then he continued to grow, and then he blows up, right? Well, Jalen Brunson was probably short his whole life. And so no matter what level he's playing at, he's one of the smaller guys, and so he's got to find a way to utilize his skills And in a sense, man, he must have had to work so hard to be able to find ways to be successful, probably even at the high school level, the AAU level, certainly in college at Villanova, and at the pro level, he was doubted every step of the way, and yet he continues to do that. It's an amazing story to me that he is where he is, given the fact that human beings have grown so much. And, we're used to the 6'6", 6'7" dudes just dominating. Wemby 7'4". My gosh, the list goes on and on. So I'm just so impressed with him. And I'm wondering if you think that the fact that he was short and never did grow actually became an advantage, because if he was going to succeed, he needed to find ways that were different than just simply raw, natural athletic ability.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, and I looked at these finals, and, it's we know what the narrative is, but the Knicks are rested. They're going to play the San Antonio Spurs, who has a talent edge, I think, with their size and their ability. But the Knicks are playing for history here, and they're riding a historically dominant 11-game playoff winning streak after – sweeping both the Sixers and Cavs. And beating the Sixers really doesn't mean much because they weren't there in full strength. But there is a deep front court. They have size. Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, along with Mitch Robinson. I guess he's got a broken pinky. Hope they'll have that. I'll be okay. But I think that I like the next year. And maybe it's just because, that's who I'm pulling for, because it's been a long time, 50 years. And let's get this done. So that's what I'm hoping happens. I know this is the Wemby era, and he carried the Spurs all year, and certainly he's a superstar for a long time coming. But the Knicks are the underdogs, and let's get this on, and let's see it happen right in front of us.
Do you think the shot distribution changes? Danny Ainge, PK's got the great quote. I don't remember exactly the situation you got it in. FGA's, baby.
It was the alumni game between Utah and BYU.
Okay, there was. FGA is the most important stat.
Yeah.
So he's being funny.
I didn't hear you.
But
Share that with me again.
He was joking. Man, they used to play BYU. Utah would play an alumni game, get guys come in the summer. And Ainge was there. I don't even remember if he was playing, but I was talking to him. I mean, he might have been. I can't remember. And he was just saying that, stats. We get so excited about stats, but the stat as a player he cared about most was FGAs.
Yeah.
Field goals attempted. That's what he wanted. So that was his. That was his joking way of saying he was going to bomb it.
Let him fly, baby.
And he was pretty good at it too.
So the Knicks, I just want to say the Knicks, Brunson takes in the playoffs during this big win streak, Brunson's taken 20 shots per game, and the next four guys are all at 10 or 11 shots a game. Given the Wemby, and is Brunson going to be taking 20 shots a game, or are these other guys going to get more shots, and then do they come through? Because they've been shooting at a much better clip than Brunson.
Yes. Well, I don't disagree with you there, but I'm kind of looking at this thing from the perspective of history could be made here, and they do have an 11-game playoff winning streak, and they didn't really beat anybody real good to get there, but the Cavs were competitive, the Sixers had issues, but when you could bring a deep front court and have size, like Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby and Mitch Robinson, it puts you in a situation where you do have length. And yes, are they going to be put in situations that maybe they've not been in before? But I think this New York team is, it's the biggest market in the world. They're searching for their first championship in over 50 years. They're running, as we mentioned before, 11-game winning streak, deep front court with the bigs. And they play suffocating defense. And what do we always say? Defense wins what? Championships. And so I'm going to ride that, and I'm going to follow that. And they do have a suffocating defense. They forced 21 turnovers and 41% team defense, which tells you that that's an important part of the Knicks and who they are and what they've done. They did win that They won the NBA Cup title in 2026, and they were able to slow Wemby down. I know that's not, where we are right now, but still, it's out there, and there's enough there to just get me to be persuaded that this is going to be an upset. And in the Knicks' mind, they don't think it's an upset, but it is an upset if they were to, hang on to that big front court and find ways to guard and suffocating defense. I think it was 21 turnovers is what they're forcing every game and 41% team defense. So the Knicks are there. They've been there. And I don't know that the NBA Cup title means anything, but the bottom line is their whole goal has to be slowing Wemby down. And if they can do that, get Wemby in foul trouble, anything that they can do to have an advantage, which, a lot of people feel like Wemby is the advantage. But we'll see how it plays out. But those are my thoughts on that.
In the 2024-25 college basketball season, we knew that the Jazz were going to not be good and have potential for a high pick, right? They ended up taking 5th, Ace Bailey. So consequently, in order to be more versed on Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, because we knew that they were going to be going very high, I ended up watching a lot of Rutgers basketball. It fit well with the time difference, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the winter. I got nothing else to do, and so why not use it for work? So I ended up watching Rutgers basketball, probably 20 games, watching those two to get a feel for them.
Yeah.
And so, I saw Dylan Harper play a lot, and Ace Bailey for that matter, and now we're watching the Spurs go, and you see Dylan Harper. He's an emerging player. He's a very nice player, right? And I think he has a chance to be really good. But as I watch him, I was texting somebody with the Jazz about this the other night as I was watching, I think, and get your thought on it, is that when I compare Dylan Harper, who I'm very high on, and was the number 2 pick, I think Darren Peterson can be better. And there's, a decent chance, if not odds-on favorite, that the Jazz have that opportunity to take Darren Peterson. And we talked about, I'm covering the NCAA tournament in Portland. It is at least an hour after the Cougars lose, and Kevin Young has done all of his podium interviews, and he comes down the hall. There's a couple other guys, a couple of the KSL guys and myself are waiting for him, and he stops, and he starts talking to us, and he says, I view shooting as the holy grail in basketball, and it just screamed at me. And I look at Darren Peterson, I look at Derek Harper, or Dylan Harper. I think Peterson is better. So if it comes down to that, I'm all for it. Compare those two players and be with the idea of shooting in Kevin Young's mind being the holy grail.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And that's the, whether it's in professional or collegiate basketball, teams who consistently win and teams who, have an advantage are the teams that, number one, have great coaches who can first and foremost get their guys knowing and understanding what their talent is and how they can help their teams. And when it comes down to it, you look at AJ and Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, these are all guys that can shoot. And as it was mentioned before, the Holy Grail. I think Peterson is the most talented. He's got a 5.25 wingspan. He's a shot maker. We've talked about that. He's averaging 20 a game and 38% from the three. Whether he can create shots at that size is still probably unknown. But he in my mind, they can't go wrong. They can't go wrong with Peterson. I just think he has such an upside in the fact that he is a shot maker, and that he shoots 38% from the three and 49% from the field goal. And, I'll keep going back, can he create shots? I think anybody at 6'11" or 7 foot, whatever, however tall he is, he changes the game. And in some ways, a lot like Wemby, in that you're a shot maker. You can create shots. It's hard to guard. I mean, when you're guarding a guy 6'11", 7 foot, who not only can shoot the ball from the perimeter and shoot the three, but has the ability to really have a presence defensively with that size. And I know the NBA is very different than the collegiate game, but having as many bigs as you can on the floor that can pass and shoot and defend, I think Peterson's the guy. He's a better fit with the Jazz, and I don't know that Boozer will become part of this and what will happen, but yeah, I like that, and we'll see how it plays out. And there's trades involved, but if the Jazz can get Peterson at that second spot, if AJ is, he's the number one guy, I don't know how to play out. I think it's a great win. I think it's a great win for the Jazz.
Do you have any theory on why number 2 picks tend to be pretty disappointing? The shortage of everything. NBA titles, NBA finals, best player on the team, all-stars, Olympians, 20-point scores, whatever you want. We went over the list of the past 25, and it's past 25 years of number 2 picks. It's pretty disappointing. Man,
I'm not sure I have an answer to that, but here's just a couple of thoughts. That those are the facts, and things can change and things can happen, and if it's that many years, there is, it tells you how good the number 1 picks are, and but I think that whether it's Peterson, AJ, Boozer, I think all of those players are going to have an impact no matter where they're picked. And but that is an interesting statistic that I've never even thought about or heard. And you got 3 franchise cornerstone guys, and I mean, maybe, I don't know, because I haven't talked to Austin or Danny about this, but in my mind, I think Darren Peterson may have, now he had injury troubles and there was maybe some psychology issues, but if he's healthy and he can do those things, there's a big difference between 7 foot and a 6'8" or a 6'7" AJ. And AJ, I think, is everybody's dream. I mean, he's just so talented, and we hear all the pundits and what they have to say. But I think Peterson might be the most talented if he can stay healthy. I mean, he's got big wingspan, he can make shots, and he can shoot the 3, which he stretches guys. And I've never seen him. I haven't watched enough film on him to know if he's breaking guys down, But in that league, there's a lot of bigs. And so it's not like you have to worry about a 6'7" guy that's going to zip by somebody. Everybody's 6'7", 6'9", 7 foot, 7'1". So I think right now going into this thing, that Peterson is the most talented because of those things. And I guess I don't know enough about him, and I haven't watched enough tape to know how creative he is. But we all watched his games, and I mean, he stretches the floor. He makes defenses really, they have to keep him honest. I mean, Peterson can do that, and a lot of people feel like he's the most talented guy in this draft, and maybe, as I said before, a better fit for the Jazz than AJ or Boozer or whomever.
I think he is the best fit. That doesn't necessarily mean you take him, though. You take the best player, and you go from there. And if you have to move guys, so be it. But there's no question if you just went on fit. I watched him a ton, and with the advent of these all-star games and televised games at the high school level, you get to see these kids, these real elite kids, well before they actually get to college, because they're available and the tape is available. And I'm thinking that there's no question he's pure. He's smooth, man. He just he has a way. And he's you see a smooth player, somebody who's always on balance and never looks awkward. That's this kid. And I think that one of the things that isn't really talked about is that his ability to distribute, particularly at the pro level, when you've got guys like Jaren Jackson, Market, and George. These guys, I can take them over to the arena right now, turn out the lights, and they shoot 50%. I mean, they are pure shooters. And so you got somebody who, in college, the teammates aren't as good. I think one of the things that's not talked about a lot with him is his ability to distribute, because he can break you down. And from the times I've seen him, he is a willing passer, and I think that's something to be excited about. Yeah,
I love that, being a willing passer, which tells you immediately already he's a good teammate, and that he's coachable, and that whomever gets him is going to, is going to be lucky. Anybody gets these top 2 or 3 picks, it's going to make their program better and their organization better. So I agree with you, and I'm just going to stay with that. I think he's the best fit, Peterson, for the Jazz. And, and there's an argument that can be made about AJ and this and that. And I think they're all both going to be really good pros. But in my mind, if I was picking, I like Peterson, and they can get him.
All right, there is Steve Cleveland. A reminder to join Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe Friday from 10 to 2 at the Larry H. Miller Summer Games in Cedar City. Celebrate 40 years of a Utah sports tradition. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Stephen Johnson covering the TCU Horned Frogs. The spring football tour continues. Stay with us.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
DJ PK, and we're joined now by Stephen Johnson, TCU beat writer for the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Stephen, good morning.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Good. Hey, before we dive into some specific players here, you're talking to two guys who've been doing this show for almost 25 years. So we were around when Gary Patterson was going to the Fiesta Bowl and winning the Rose Bowl, and TCU, BYU, and Utah had a really good thing going in the Mountain West. They were great. And Sonny Dykes comes in and takes them to the college football championship game his first year. Now, you lose a lot of players. You got to rebuild. We get that. Couple of 9-4 seasons back-to-back here. What is the missing piece that might jump TCU into the conversation with Texas Tech, with Utah and BYU in the elite in the conference? Big picture, they're good. What are they missing that they're not great?
Well, they hope that new offensive coordinator Gordon Samuels ends up being kind of the missing piece. I think Sonny realized Sonny's been an air raid guy most of his career and has had a lot of success with it. But I think if you notice BYU, Utah, Texas Tech, even teams like Iowa State and Kansas State, I feel like those teams, the Big 12 is moving from that air raid, throw it all over the yard 50, 60 times a game to those five teams I mentioned are very physical teams on both sides of the ball. Yeah, they still run spread, but a lot of those teams weren't afraid to get under center. I still remember going to that BYU game last year, just how much more physical BYU was than TCU. So they hope this new offense philosophy, which is a little bit more pro-style, a little bit more multiple, will allow them to play a bit more physical. Their run game has struggled the last 2 years, so they got a new OC. Even though they lost Josh Hoover, they think they have a more athletic quarterback in Jaden Craig that can also maybe unlock certain dimensions of the offense. So they're hoping this new offensive scheme and also being in year 3 under Andy Avalos could kind of be what they need to take that next leap into the elite of the Big 12.
Yeah, you speak of Josh Hoover, and he was a mainstay there. And on the way out, it seemed like from a distance, and get your thought on this, that Sonny took some shots at him talking about the turnovers. And I believe he had 42 total turnovers. 79 touchdown passes, 42 turnovers, and that ASU game was in a particular abomination. It seemed like they had that game won, but he kept turning it over. So with that in mind, you spoke of the new quarterback coming in. Is it the case of sour grapes, or is Sonny glad that Hoover's gone?
I think two things could be true. Maybe three things. They certainly wanted to keep him. I know financially they were competitive with Indiana and some of the other teams that wanted him. I think ultimately Josh left because, Kendall Briles left. A lot of his good friends, Eric McAllister, Colton Deary, some other guys also ended up leaving. And he had been here, I think, 4 years. So he had kind of seen everything Fort Worth had to offer. But I do think it was a shot, but I also think Sonny was telling the truth as well. I think turnovers were one of the biggest things. I forget what the stat says, but since Sonny's taken over, if they just win or they're even in the turnover battle, I think they have some crazy record like 26-4, 27-4, or something like that. So typically speaking, when TCU doesn't turn the ball over or when they win the turnover battle, they win games. And that I still think to this day, that's going to be Josh's biggest flaw. But like Signetti says, he's never had a defense as good as he'll probably have as Indiana. He's never had a run game as good as Indiana is likely to have either. So I think there's some truth in the statement, but I also think it was some sour grapes as well.
If he had stayed, would he have had the best line ever? Noah McKinney, Witten Van Hoy's returning. They are being talked up. And back to your earlier point about being physical, can they just load up and run behind those guys?
I actually think so, ironically. I really like some of the additions they made. Noah McKinney was obviously a big one. They got Cade Bennett back for the extra year eligibility. Some of those, Ben Taylor Whitfield as well. Ryan Hughes is coming off an injury. Another guy that got out of the portal, he was all conference at FIU, was a Jaheim Buchanan. So they're deep, and you're seeing a lot of those highly regarded recruits. Sonny landed, in like the 23 class, 24 class. Those old linemen, Witten Van Hoy, Killian Registi, I think I said his name right, and Wesley Harvey, some other guys, they're finally ready to play now, and TCU is starting to look a little bit different on the offensive line. You're starting to see a little bit more 6'5", 6'6", even 6'7", so the body types are changing. So I do think Josh would have probably had his best O-line if he stayed here.
Don't know a lot about Jaden Craig other than a 3-year starter at Harvard, but the thing that gives me confidence is I believe Sonny could take whomever, basically, and mold him into a pretty good quarterback. I think we followed him at Cal, and we know what he was about, and he's a real good offensive mind, obviously. So from that perspective, what do you expect from Craig? And tell us about him, what he does well.
I kind of follow that same thinking as you. I think even whether it be Max Duggan, Josh Hoover, Chandler Morris can really stay healthy, the success he had at SMU, even going back to Louisiana Tech. I think Sonny, if he's known as a quarterback whisperer, I think he's earned that reputation just based off the work he's done, really all over the place. So I expect Craig will probably set some career-high numbers. I think one thing that he'll be able to showcase a little bit more than he wasn't able to at Harvard because of depth issues is just his mobility. I don't think his rushing stats are probably just going to jump off the page, but he's more mobile than maybe you might expect. He's a little bit bigger than Josh. I think he has similar arm talent, man. I really do. So I think the mobility, the fact he's going to be in the offense, that Samus really kind of thrives on making the game really, really easy for his quarterbacks. Fagnano at UConn was one of the most efficient passers in college football last year, and that's what they want to do this year. They don't necessarily need or want Craig to have to carry the offense, but I do think this scheme and this ability to kind of get him in space to use his legs will bring out the best of him. He has some NFL draft buzz, so he has NFL upside. I do believe that, and I definitely saw it to watch him go through the spring.
Quarterback depth can always be an issue, and I was looking at some of the guys who played in the version of a spring game, and Jack Dalton, wait a minute. No, we're so old that Andy Dalton's kid is playing college football? That's a shocker. How good is he?
Dawson, I don't think Andy's his dad, but for what I remember. But he was running with the threes, but when he got on the field, he's a 3-star recruit out of the Woodlands near Houston. He flashed some talent, man. He was a guy that really impressed Kendall Browse and Sonny when Browse was here. So I definitely think he closed the spring pretty strong. The second quarterback's going to be Adam Schobel, who's really raw but really talented, 6'4", maybe 6'5", can move, has really good arm talent. He just needs more polish. He played at like 4A or 3A here in Texas, so he's just kind of refining his skills. So TCU has good quarterback depth. Obviously, they hope it won't be tested, but it won't be like some of those other years where if Josh went down, they would be having to turn to, almost a walk-on or a true freshman. So I think TCU's in a good spot when it comes to his quarterback depth. Receiver-wise,
McAllister was a really, really good player, right? I think we all understand that. And when he was available, he was very nice. Now they don't have somebody, I think, that has the original or the stature of name value along those lines. But I'm assured that if it's a Sonny Dykes offense, they've got guys waiting in the wings, and whether it's a Jeremy Scott or a Terry Shelton, maybe it's those guys. Who knows? Could you tell us about what they have as far as receiver goes?
Well, the biggest addition, I guess the return they got was Jordan Dwyer coming back. They picked him up last year from Idaho in the transfer portal. He's the second leading receiver with close to almost 800 yards. So if there's going to be a guy, it's going to be Jordan. Having him back, I just think is huge for just not only his experience. He's a proven guy. Did it at the FCS level, and then he did it at the Power 4 level. So he'll be wide receiver 1. I think they're counting on the outside receiver, that second outside spot, either Terry Shelton or Dozie Ezukanma. I think I pronounced it right.
Yeah.
They're betting on one of those two guys to kind of take a leap. And based on the spring, I think they're both capable. I would probably maybe lean more towards Shelton kind of having that starting role. But they might use those two guys to kind of replicate what Eric McAllister did. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if, say, Terry Shelton has like 500 yards and Dozie has 300 or 400. Because I think it's going to take a committee approach to replace Eric. And then finally, they got Ed Small coming back. Ed Small, before his injury, I thought was one of the top freshman slot receivers last year. And so he's another guy they can depend on. They really like their tight end room. So I think it will be a committee approach. I don't know if they'll have the Big 12's leading receiver next year, but there's plenty of talent. They just need some of those younger guys to kind of step up now.
Back to your point about being bigger and more physical, we have seen Utah and BYU both have success with tight ends. But tight ends, that's an all-purpose label. Like, some guys are more run blockers, some guys are receivers and are really glorified slot guys. And some guys really, truly are combo guys. What do they have in the tight ends group for TCU?
Well, all the tight ends now, I think, have to – Gordon Samuels demands that they have to be willing to kind of put their hand in the dirt, and they have to be good inline blockers. Obviously, he wants a receiving threat, a receiver that can – a tight end that can stretch the field. But it's paramount receiver, tight end, that you have to be a plus in the blocking game. So I think all of the tight ends are having to get a little bit more physical. Kamorion Pimpton is probably the lead guy. Right now, he's 6'6", 6'7". I view him as, like, I think his strengths are going to be in the red zone target, just getting up, going up for those jump balls. But he has a lot of talent, man. They were really banged up, honestly. Another guy I really like is Mason Peterson. He's another guy. I think he might be him and Lafayette Kawhi. I think I said his name right. I think they're more of those, I guess, more modern tight ends that can really stretch the field. They're faster despite having, so much, despite their physicality and things like that. So they have a versatile tight end room. They're just hoping those guys can get healthy and will be able to go in fall camp.
Reading up on them defensively, said they have some gaps to fill in the secondary at linebacker. And going with linebacker, I know Elam's Caleb was really good as far as linebacker, and he was just a tackle machine. So how is that position going to be?
It's a big question mark. They do feel good about the development of Max Carroll. He's a Memphis guy just like me. So Max will step into Caleb Elam's Orr's role as kind of like the Mike Backer. Another super talented former four-star recruit, was an athlete in high school, played every position. So he has like a receiver safety mindset at linebacker, which I think is going to allow him to be really thrive against both the pass and the run. So if there's a breakout guy on that TCU defense, I would definitely say it's him. Outside of him, though, that room's going to be a big question mark. They're dependent on – it'll either be one of the handful of redshirt freshmen they have that, weren't ready to play last year, having to step up. They also brought in Mike Short from North Carolina, but he was a reserve at North Carolina. And they also have Michael Thiessen back, who was a transfer from Missouri State. So I would argue that second linebacker spot by Max Carroll, that's probably the biggest question mark on the defense for TCU.
TCU's defense a year ago, 14th in the conference, giving up 245 yards a game through the air. That is not good enough. Have they leaned heavily into the transfer portal to fix that? How is that going to work out?
Well, absolutely. They loaded up at the cornerback position. It was really strange because their safeties were so good last year, but their cornerbacks was kind of like the opposite story. So they do bring back Jamel Johnson, who I think will be preseason All-Big 12, maybe preseason All-American. Tied for the team lead in interceptions last year. I think he's an NFL guy, just like Bud Clark was. And another guy, not a transfer, but a true sophomore, Gil Jackson at cornerback. He might have been the top performer in the spring. He looks like a dude. He looks like the type of corner you'll see in the SEC. 6'3", great frame, has that type of confident, bordering on cocky mindset that you want from your defensive back. I think he's another guy that could be a breakout. And they brought in two cornerbacks, Kalen Carroll from Central Michigan and Teion Parks from Colorado. Also bring back Vernon Glover as well. So they would like to think they'll be better on that side of the ball. They struggled, I think, in jump ball situations last year, and they struggled for some reason in third and long. They had one of the better defenses in terms of stop rate on first and second down. So they were really good at forcing those third and sevens 3rd and 8, but they also really struggled to get off the field as well. So it was a really strange year watching the secondary last year, considering how good their safeties were.
I know they got a recruit coming in, quarterback, who's they're really high on, and the recruiting you spoke about, that they've been doing it. And I think that is reflective, and you can answer this much better than I could, in the reason why they gave Sonny an extension in April. Is that accurate?
I think so. I think Sonny, the recruiting as well, I think the fact he was able to kind of stabilize the ship, if you will, the last 2 years, I think that was big. If you're Mike Buddy, you're coming in. For the most part, TCU's athletic department is in a really strong place. And, at AD, you're defined by the hires and decisions you make. So I don't think Buddy wanted to really come in and make a major decision if he didn't have to. And the way Sonny, I think, closed the year last year and in 2024 was the right sign that, as he said after that bowl win over USC, TCU is a good football program. Now they're trying to figure out how to take that last step. It starts with recruiting. You're seeing that, I think, finally in the trenches more than anything, both on the defensive line and offensive line. The body types are changing. The physicality is changing. Now they just have to go and execute on the field and figure out, can they take that next step, especially with Sorsby. In my mind, Sorsby shouldn't be playing this year for Texas Tech, but that's another story.
Yeah. I think you'll be right.
Stephen, we appreciate the time and the info. Thanks for joining once again. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
There is Stephen Johnson covering TCU. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NHL.
A little more touch. Sissons might have been in the clear down the slot. Hurdle from the right side. Give and go. He shoots. He scores! Tomas Hurdle. 5-4 Knights. 3:24 to go in the third period. It goes to the corner, and another try blocked. The game is over. Vegas takes game one. 5-4. Their seventh come-from-behind victory this postseason.
Game one, Stanley Cup final goes to Vegas. PK, how close were the Mammoth to going to the Stanley Cup final? All this comparative score stuff. It's all fool's gold, right? It wouldn't have happened?
I thought they lost in the first round.
They did to the team that now leads in the Stanley Cup final.
3 rounds away.
Yeah. And
but I'm giving you fact. You're just giving me supposition.
Yep.
That's the difference between TV and print.
Uh-huh.
I'm giving you fact.
Right.
You're
and when I give you fact,
if,
you go, well, that's fact. What can I do with that? Have an opinion.
But you asked me a question that required fact. So when I don't ask you a question that requires fact.
It could enable an opinion.
You said how close, and I gave you a literal fact. I don't ever ask you, David Jones, what direction does the sun rise? See, I don't ask. You asked me, so I responded in kind. It's 7:02, and I already kicked the crap out of you.
Yesterday, Scotty G came in with, or was it Lloyd? I think it was Scotty G. Came in with the mail.
Lloyd.
It was Lloyd, yeah, okay. Came in with the mail.
Lloyd's the mailman. He always delivers.
Stuff was addressed to me. David Jones.
So if you ask me a question that requires a factual answer, Jonesy, that's what I'll give you.
Jonesy. Well, I feel like I'm back in the Henson Center in the mid-'90s. Hey, Jonesy. What's going on, Jonesy? I will talk about this with Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN.
Who's from New Jersey?
What does Vegas have that has enabled them to pull this off? A month before the season ended, they weren't a sure thing for the playoffs, and yet here they are looking great. Carolina's got a 2-goal lead. No big deal. No big deal. Just fight right back and get the W. Talk with him about this coming up at 8 o'clock. NHL All-Star Weekend will have an international hockey flavor after the success of the Four Nations face-off in the Winter Olympics. The 2027 midseason classic scheduled for UBS Arena in Elmont, New York. Will feature teams representing Canada, Finland, Sweden, the U.S., and a world team comprised of international players. So there you go. That's not the same thing.
I think they should do a 5-nation.
And how would that work?
We get a bye. We're the U.S. What do you mean, how would that work?
We get a bye to the
dumb
final?
Question.
No, that was a good question.
You people, you just don't love America the way we do.
Which you people am I right now? I'm so many you people.
Jeez, that's a fact.
You missed it 2 days ago. It was a huge Zoom. Yuck.
Criticism.
The Dallas Stars announced they have a letter of intent for a potential new arena in the suburb of Plano. They proposed building a new arena at the Shops of Willow Bend.
That's Plano.
As part of a potential new mixed-use development that would make it a sports and entertainment district. It's Plano, huh?
Oh, it's Plano.
I thought it was Plano.
No, for me it's Plano.
Why would that be?
Because I have a friend there. He called it that.
Ah.
Maybe he was wrong. It was called the Plano. I'd meet him in Plano.
Well, the day after the Mavs announced their arena, the Stars announced theirs. So everybody build a new arena. Nashville Predators hire Colorado Avalanche GM Chris McFarland as the new president of hockey operations and GM. He replaces Barry Trotz, who stepped down in February. So there you go. Change is the only constant. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
I double down on this. Just like Becky Hammond said, prove me wrong. Absolutely double down. Getting out of the East has never been a surefire to winning a championship. What y'all talking about? You get out of the East, you're supposed to get out of the East. It's the East. Of course you're supposed to get out of the East. That don't just mean you win a championship because you get out of the East. It's the East. Great. It's the East. We beat up Boston. You should get out the East. Happy for Mike Brown, by the way, but you should get out of the East.
That's Draymond Green, Warrior, played his whole life in the West.
So do I have this straight? He thinks you should get out of the East?
That, I think, would be, to summarize.
Okay.
Yeah, to summarize, that would be it. Teams have come out of the East and won. The Celtics and Bucks have both done it. East has won 2 of the last 5, 3 of the last 7, if you go back to the Warriors.
Well, the Knicks have done it too.
Back in the 70s.
Well, it came out of the East.
Yeah.
The East is the East.
The East is the East. Can't argue that. More facts. It has been the lesser conference, but it has not been impossible for the Eastern team to win. Game 1 tonight, 6:30 on ABC. Knicks center Mitchell Robinson, underwent surgery on his broken right pinky finger, is officially questionable tonight. There's a belief that he could play with the finger in a brace. So, the team of your youth, PK, you will have memories flashing back tonight as you watch it'll be San Antonio tonight when they get to the Garden.
Memories.
Thank you, Babs. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
How many losers are there in pro sports, PK?
Those that don't win.
Atlanta Falcons give star wide receiver Drake London a 4-year contract extension, $141 million extension, $100 million of that guaranteed. Incentives can push the deal up around $150 million.
Yeah, I seen that yesterday.
Big cash.
I like the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, you keep everything one syllable. I don't know why he did that, but it sounded okay to me, so I didn't say anything.
Steelers signed linebacker Nick Herbig to a 4-year, $100 million extension, $42 million guaranteed. He'd sat out the first day of their mandatory minicamp while awaiting the deal to be done. Now he's got his deal.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
It's not mandatory if he sat it out, right? It's mandatory for all of you suckers. I'm about to get a new contract. A slightly different definition of mandatory.
Did he clear the insurmountable hurdle?
He did. He did the impossible. Rams coach Sean McVay said there is a chance the former All-Pro defensive tackle Aaron Donald could unretire and rejoin the team. They added defensive end Myles Garrett. Donald, 35 years old. He retired in 2024. Pretty unusual story, PK. A defensive lineman coming back at 35.
Yeah, there was some picture of him on the couch, and he still looked buff and all that stuff. And so they thought maybe later in the season, not in August.
So forget mandatory mini camps. The first month or two isn't mandatory.
There's still videos of him working out, and he's still getting after it.
Right.
And he was really good when he quit.
And so the idea is maybe that if they need him come November, I mean, we've seen that. That's not. Didn't Flacco do it here recently? Not that he had the impact that Aaron Donald
would be expected to have.
Eric Weddle did it.
Yeah, Weddle's a good
forgetting
example.
Somebody.
Weddle.
I knew that's who it was. Yeah.
Made their own with the Ravens, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that it's that impressive. When I saw that yesterday, I thought
you didn't rule it out.
That's feasible. I also saw that Garrett, he's going to pay just a bleep load more in taxes in California.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you people with all the taxes?
Another you people.
Please.
Wait, for years you've been telling me the taxes don't matter.
I didn't say they mattered. I just said that's what that's what he's going to have to pay.
Bleep load more.
So whether it matters or not is up to him. I mean, clearly it didn't matter with Durant. Steph Curry resigned. LeBron resigned or signed and then re-signed. Shohei Ohtani. Do we have in the next 5 hours?
Sure, go ahead. Read the rosters for every team in California. And then read all the New York rosters.
Those who signed
in
California when they didn't have to.
Paying big
and when
money.
you're making that amount of money. Now, I told you, though, that Merle Kelly decided to re-sign with Arizona versus San Diego, even though San Diego was offering more, because his tax guy said, if you do this and this and this, you're going to end up paying this and this more. Plus, Phoenix was home, so I'm not sure that's it. I mean, he literally went to high school there and college there.
Nonetheless, there are markets like New York and California, probably Illinois too, where the tax bill is much higher. And then you got the Florida and Texas where there's nothing. And you got places like Utah that are in between. I think it's 5% here.
Is it?
So 5%
I always thought it was 10%. What do I know?
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
SEC and Big Ten released a joint statement yesterday saying they do not support the current version of a bipartisan Protect College Sports Act designed to regulate an industry struggling for answers in a quickly changing era. Statement says the bill leaves critical issues unresolved, including not meaningfully preempting state laws with a federal one, which has long been considered a key element for the measure to get support from the NCAA and the various conferences. So they're going to push back on this.
On what?
Having a federal law that regulates college sports in multiple ways, from broadcasting to the ability of athletes to transfer, to capping pay.
Do they have power to push back?
I think they can rally some state reps, the various, senators or whatever. I mean, if senators from Indiana, Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina begin to oppose this, can they get some real numbers to help defeat this? That's a deeper dive than I want to take, but I did wonder it.
Well, I'm just going to do whatever Tommy Tuberville says to do.
Okay. Pac-12 Commissioner Teresa Gold said in a statement she believes the industry should engage in honest conversations about student-athlete employment and collective bargaining.
I think they should engage in
dishonest conversations. How about one-sided conversations? I'm struggling to see what the athlete's motivation is for, let's collectively bargain. It's a little bit like the baseball players. They're getting a lot of what they want now. Why would they give in? Well, in baseball, maybe because they get locked out and they don't get to make money. That would be why the baseball players give in, if they give in. Haven't heard anything about locking out college players yet. We'll see. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Out of the stretch, delivers home. And this one pulled down the right field side. Fair ball right on the line. Around third. Comes rushing. He'll score. Freeland's going to get waved around. Ohtani around second. He's into third with a pop-up side. Safe. It's 4-0 Dodgers.
The 2-2 to Pareda. Swinging a well-hit ball. Deep to left field. Soto going back, looking up. Goodbye, baseball. Johnny Pareda with his second home run as a Seattle Mariner. A 3-run home run here in the bottom of the fifth.
Now fly ball to right center from Rumfield. Adele's after it in the gap, and he makes the running catch. Oh, he didn't grab it. The ball actually clanked off of Adele, and I believe did it bounce over? I don't think so. Let's see. Clanked it, hit him in the head, and
That could be a home run. That's definitely a home run.
That is a home run, almost Canseco style.
Joe Adell had the blooper of the night. The ball goes off his glove, off his head, and over the wall for a home run, as Jose Canseco famously had that happen to him back in '93. Adell's had balls go off his glove and over the wall before. He also had the night earlier this year where he just seemed to pull every single fly ball back into the park. I think he robbed 3 home runs in that game. Yeah. But it's on the wrong end of it tonight. Last night. Rockies beat the Angels 8-2. Yankees, Aaron Judge, what is going to happen? He's got a bone bruise in his upper right rib cage. He's feeling it in his shoulder. He's going to see a specialist to get checked out. So when will he be able to play again, and when will he be dominant again? All questions the Yankees are waiting for answers for. No questions for the Seattle Mariners. You hear that highlight, they win again. That is 8 straight for them, leading the division. Although Texas is trying to go with them. Texas has won 5 in a row. Not quite back to 500 yet. That division everybody was under, but Mariners now have a winning record, and Texas only a couple games away from getting back to 500 now. Dodgers running away with the NL West now. They have opened it up. 6-game lead with that win there, as you heard them running the bases. The Padres get beat by the Phillies 3-2. So the Phillies continue to surge since Don Mattingly takes over. Bees beat the Albuquerque Isotopes 7-4. Game 2 at the ballpark at America First Square tonight. First pitch set for 6:35. Coverage starts at 6:20 on 1280 The Zone. And that's what's trending. And it's brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. All right, spring football tour continues. Jerry Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host of ESPN 97.5 in Houston, will join us at 9 o'clock to tell us about a team that had a pretty good year last year. Are they ready to take another big step forward? We'll talk with him at 9 o'clock. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN, will join us at 8 o'clock. It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to see Brit Floyd in concert at the Maverick Center this Saturday. We'll do that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that. The question of the day is next.
Turn it up. Let's go. It's a new era for sports radio in Utah. This is the all-new KSL Sports Zone. As always, DJ and PK kick off your mornings from 6 to 10. Then introducing the newest addition to the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Tim Lacombe, joins Scotty G every day from 10 to 2. And as you wrap up your day, Jake Scott and Ben Anderson are there with the best sports talk in Utah from 2 to 6. Live and local, all day, every day. Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is live, on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
KSL Sports Zone and BI Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the BI Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the BI Meals Hero of the Week. Question of the morning. How can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs to win another NBA championship?
Can't do it.
People who default to the West or default to the small market, think again.
Can't do it.
Well, first off, I was, I would say, mildly surprised to see the response. There was much more pro-Knicks sentiment here than I probably would have expected. Yeah.
Well, because everybody knows the country revolves around the New York area.
That is why people root against New York, that attitude right there. Michael, have you ever met a New Yorker? Apparently, Michael's been irritated and does not want to root for a New York team.
When I was a kid, my grandmother lived in Brooklyn, and she was a very nice lady.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have met her,
you'd have had a different opinion about New Yorkers.
If this woman, Mary Ellen Kinahan, does not go to heaven, there's no such thing as
the rest of us are doomed, right?
Yeah. Right.
She ought to be leading the way.
Right.
Shelley says, I'm cheering for New York because I'm cheering for Jordan Clarkson to get a ring. Ryan, I'm rooting for Jordan Clarkson, no doubt. But, man, Wemby's such an awesome player. I can't be mad if he wins.
But it's the Spurs. It's not about the individual. It's the Spurs. Do you want the Spurs to win again? And he's in his third year?
Dustin, no. We do not want to see the Spurs win another championship.
Exactly. When they tanked and got rewarded and the Jazz tanked and got fined? What?
Double standard.
What was that about, man?
There were too many teams tanking all at once, and it was too obvious. That's what it was about. And it was right before the All-Star game, and he had a press conference he had to hold.
Yeah, you hung up on that.
I totally think that. I swear if it had broken 2 weeks later, it had been different.
But, all right, let's dissect what you just said.
Yeah.
There were so many teams.
Yep.
In fact, you said too many teams.
Yes.
So we really need to talk about the Jazz at the All-Star break. I mean, that's number one on the NBA's list. We must talk about the Jazz at the All-Star game because everybody knows the microscope is under the Jazz and anything they do just defines what the NBA is about. Now, over here, I have sense.
Everything's
and over
bigger.
there, I have nonsense.
Everything's bigger on the Wasatch Front. And you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
You get stuff. Locke said that, and I could just see your mind. Aha! Colin Cowherd in 2013 said the no state taxes. And for the next 5 years, you came in and screamed about the no state taxes, and then all the premier free agents signed with California teams. And now you're doing it again. How in the heck does that make any sense that when in one sentence you say there were too many teams tanking, so let's find the Jazz? Why not all the 17 other teams? Because there were too many by your own words.
Yes.
Now let's go after Utah because they are the center of the NBA.
Whipping boy, no pushback there. Don't go after somebody else. A little surprised they didn't go after some of the other markets they could have made the whipping boy, but it was pretty obvious what was going on here.
It's been pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You've told me, according to your own words, that tanking has been going on for decades.
Yes. And usually it's 2, 3, 4 teams. And this year was 7, 8, 10 teams.
No disagreement there.
Yeah.
So, but we had to just speak about the Jazz at the All-Star break.
They were doing something.
Because I was going to show him how tough I am.
They were doing something different, and it caught everybody's attention. So
For
they
two
were,
games.
They were at the center
2
of the
games.
debate. Yep, sitting guys
in
the fourth
which
quarter.
they played 27 and 23 minutes.
Yep. They sat him in the fourth quarter.
And one of which they won. So they were a 500 team.
It was,
I'm not a lawyer, but my gosh, this is easy to debunk.
Except they got fined. They didn't debunk it. Even though they got a great case.
No. That's not what I'm arguing about. I'm arguing that they had to do it because they had to speak at the All-Star. We had to find the Jazz, or else we would have been Marcel Marceau.
Did they find anybody after the All-Star break? Nope.
But the year before, they find the Jazz. Did they find the Jazz the year before? Yep. Would you give me something that I actually have to work on?
They kept tanking the rest of the season, and they didn't get fined. Whatever. Let's get back to the original question of the morning. Knicks Spurs.
Yeah, and I don't want the Spurs to do it because they tanked. Knicks didn't tank. If tanking, and we all agree tanking is awful, it's an awful look, so why would I root for the Spurs? That is the very discussion, is that they tanked
I was channel
for
surfing.
years.
Yeah.
The Knicks did not. They just sucked when they sucked.
I was channel surfing during the Stanley Cup last night, and ESPN was running the Jordan 10-part documentary again, and I happened to hit the part that was at the very root of Krause and Jordan, and there were people saying, and they were going through the stuff where Jordan had the broken foot and wanted to come back, and they were limiting him to 7 minutes per half, and it was a Krause rule, and there was somebody who covered the team who said, at the root of all the problems, Jordan thought Krause and the Bulls and Reinsdorf, I guess, violated the principal tenet, like you should always win. You should always be trying to win in everything. And Jordan basically never forgave him for it. Tanking right there. They wanted to tank, and he got furious. It's been at the center of so many questions for the league, and that's decades. That's going on 40 years
Which is
now.
why I don't want to reward the Spurs. Yeah.
Brian says, I hope the Knicks win. They haven't won since 73. The Spurs have won more recently, and the Knicks need to pay him back for 99. That's a way to hold a grudge. "27 years later, got to pay him back for that series."
I remember nothing about that series. I'm sure you do.
It went 5. That's about it. It was Duncan's first title. Jay says, anyone but the Knicks. Holy cow, guys, get a clue. And anyone but the Yankees while we're at it.
Why anybody but the Knicks? There's some powerhouse that wins all the time?
It hasn't won since 73, like the last person said. I think Jay just doesn't like New York teams. I think that's the thread to draw there.
So he would root against Brooklyn.
Apparently.
That powerhouse.
That powerhouse has done nothing since they had a really good team when they came into the league. They got stripped of all their players, and they've never really recovered. They made a couple finals, but never won it all. Larry, because I'm not going to root for a team in the East.
So you're going to root against a team that's been rewarded for tanking while you got fined multiple times.
Yep.
And they're a younger team. They've got, BYU's recruiting guys that are like 5 years older than them and trying to get a center. And you want them to have a budding power. And then we have to hear about Popovich again, and we got to roll them out and go through that song and dance again.
No, we've got that here. Yeah, Jeremy. Wimby has heart, and Coach Pop's a legend. Go Spurs. Sincerely, a sad, sad Jazz fan.
No.
You think there's any chance that if they win, more teams come for their players and it breaks their team up because they can't pay everybody? Is there any chance?
That's every team. So you get hung up on that.
Yeah, but
every team that wins, you're going to have to pay. So that'll be a never-ending problem in the NBA if you consider that a problem.
And some of the guys, I know, I'm just thinking what breaks the Spurs up faster. And maybe they just get broken up because they're going to get paid either way. And so whether they win this championship or not, maybe just doesn't accelerate it much. They're good enough that to whatever degree people have cap room and can make moves, they're going to be trying to land some of these guys.
Okay.
I did wonder about that when I saw you post the question. Like, would winning this series help accelerate, the team becoming expensive and having to be broken up?
Okay, you're wondering about questions that can't be answered. I'm wondering about questions that are going to be answered if they win. You have a third-year guy and a first-year guy, and Castle's young, and that they stand in the way of the Jazz. That isn't anything to wonder about. That's a fact. And I don't want that. I want the Jazz to be able to beat the Spurs. I want the Jazz to be able to be in the finals. They're not in the East. They're not supposed to come out of the East. So, yes, I do not want the Spurs to win because that negatively impacts the Jazz. If I'm a Jazz, and I'm doing it because it's fun for work. I don't have the emotional attachment to this franchise at all. And those who do, why would I want a potential rival to win it? At this age, at this stage, if Wembanyama was 36 and this was kind of the last go-around, fine. But it's not. He's just barely getting started here. And who cares who you surround him with? If he's that good, I just need some decent players. So you could poach whoever. If you want that champagne guy, and once you have that level of star, it's far easier to get the secondary guys. The secondary guys, they're important, but they're easier to acquire. We all agree on that.
There's more of them.
Yeah, and they're very good players. But you need the stars, and he's a star. Obviously, he has a chance to be the best player in the league for a decade. We would all agree on that.
Does that change if they lose this series?
No.
So your first point is strong. They're in the Jazz way. But they're going to be in the Jazz way and be a gigantic obstacle whether they pull this off or not. Unless they
why have them win it?
Unless they have one of those like epic meltdowns that makes them question themselves.
I would rather have
horrific.
them lose it. And I've always hated Becky Hammon, and she has a chance to be wrong.
Well, it's two different things. I'd agree, obviously, because you've heard me say it before, with what she says as far as it's hard to pick the little player and all that. But don't we all mostly root for the little guy? I mean, it's not hard to figure out why Wemby might win a championship.
I do not root for you.
But Brunson, I'm not a little guy. I mean, I'm a little there, but I'm still not little. But wouldn't it be cool? I mean, really, what beef does anybody have with Jalen Brunson? Plays super hard.
Jazz.
His teammates seem to like him. He beat the Jazz in one playoff series like 5 years ago. You hold that against him? Okay, well, if you want to, you're right. That'd be something
I don't
to
hold anything against any
I know
player.
you don't, especially you don't. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of like the average fan. I think you'd have to be pretty hardcore.
No, I think he's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
With his craftiness.
And I think the league is more interesting if really good, smaller players can elevate their team like that. And it's like, well, they do have Karl Anthony Towns. It's not exactly terrible. But Brunson is the guy who takes the most shots.
He's a good player.
Right.
But, I mean, he's not.
I'd have to go back. But like with someone like
all that.
Right. But when I think like Steve Nash and Kidd, right? These other smaller guards who were really good and got there, they didn't have someone the caliber of. I mean, don't you think Cat was better than Stoudemire?
No.
I think Stoudemire's better. He was more athletically explosive, and he was a decent shooter out to 17 or 18 feet.
Well, I think Steve Nash made everybody look better.
I agree. And that's why I think Cat's better. Is that Stoudemire did look really good.
But the game was different. You can't go by distance on shooting in those days.
He wasn't asked to do stuff.
Nobody was.
Yeah.
It was like that. They would set off sirens and almost like police blares and glares as lights when somebody made a three-pointer back then.
Yeah. And now it's like, okay.
Now you'd be out of batteries halfway through the first quarter.
I need some double A's.
Right. So it's just literally a different ball game in that. But, we have to see, because to go to Draymond Green, who loves to hear himself talk, that if the Spurs blow them out, well, then it was, the East.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to see the level of competitiveness. So I can't go crazy just because they got there, because somebody has to get there.
Somebody has to get there. And Draymond's point is true. The East has been bad. Even the championship teams that came out of it, it wasn't a gauntlet to come out of. But there is something about the Knicks and the way they've dominated people. I mean,
now we get to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
we
I
get
hope
to see.
I would
prefer a longer series and more games to talk about and more drama at the end.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I've always said, my dream scenario is the Jazz go 82-0 and then win 4 7-game series.
What in the world do you want 16 for? It'd be over too fast.
Right. And have them win the 7th game 4 times.
Yeah.
Have them play an even 100 games.
Yeah,
right
that's what I would be looking for. Yeah. Every year. That's my goal for them.
Best story for us.
Right. Exactly.
How will they respond to the first loss? How could they? In the first round. Oh, good show.
Yeah.
Patrick says, the question, how can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs to win another NBA championship? He says, especially when a former Jazzman was the Knicks, flame on JC, exclamation point, and bleep the Spurs, exclamation point.
And Clarkson would get one, but he's really a limited role player.
Yes.
And knowing, well, I don't know him.
He's not 25, 30
I wonder if he
minutes
even
up.
cares. I mean, he wants to win, but is it going to make a big difference in his life?
Deep, burning, yeah.
Yeah, he's so far out there that who
and
knows
it's not
what
like he's
thinking.
been with the team for 8 years, and it's been this long climb with the Knicks.
Right.
I mean, Brunson's had a long climb. It hasn't been 8 years, but he's had a long climb with the Knicks.
Yeah,
and he's in a starring
Mitchell
role.
Robinson was there. He's been there for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you like Clarkson and he was an eccentric, funny dude, different guy, fine. He will be able to say he played on a team the whole season that won it all, and that's fun. And then when they have the 20-year reunion,
they'll run him out there.
Yeah, if he wants to come back.
Yeah.
Who knows where he'll be on the planet? If he's even able to have someone get in touch with him. Probably not. Who knows where he's going to be?
If there's somebody who actually went off and lived on some mountainside in the Philippines, it would be him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's a loose local connection.
Yeah. But he was popular here. And the Spurs don't have anybody with a tie here, do they?
What's his face?
Olenek sitting on the bench there. Yeah. But Clarkson's playing more than him.
Barely, but yeah. Yeah. And good for Olenek. He's managed to keep himself in the league.
Yeah.
You think with all the money he's made, he can afford a haircut?
Come on, man. He's got separation. You're the king of separation.
Yeah, but then you got to have separation on something that is not easily doable. Like the guy who has a big dog. No.
No separation.
Or the guy who tells me, I'm a girl dad. Well, aren't you special?
There's no real separation there either.
Right.
A lot
you
of
got to do something like that guy I golfed with, and he was an international phenomenon. That's
All
separation.
Right. We will get to that next. Stay with us. That is, did you want people to top it? I don't know if you can top it.
What?
At least pull up alongside of it. You put the question up.
Oh, the McCartney one?
Yeah.
That's untoppable.
Listener says he got paired up with Paul McCartney for a few finishing holes in Orlando several years ago. What's your best story?
You can't top that.
We've got some people trying. We will get to that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LaCombe.
Kurt Heelan, NBC Sports, and ProBasketballTalk.com.
You can't talk about the Knicks and their dominance without talking about how futile the Cavs were. But the non-timeout and the issue all series with Harden, I was surprised to see Kenny Atkinson be brought back. Were you?
A little. I think that they genuinely, like their front office backs him, and they think, look, we got farther than we could have. The weird thing is it looks kind of like they're going to run it back. They don't trade for James Harden. That deal doesn't get done without a handshake deal to extend him. They're not going to let Mitchell go. It's going to be an interesting offseason if they run it back. Right now, that's the way they're talking, but I can't see that being, just seems like they'll be worse.
That seems like the definition of insanity to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know how that's going to end. You just do. You've got enough data points to know how that's going to end.
And everybody's going to be better, and if you're just the same, you're fading. You're getting worse.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaCombe, today from 10 to 2. They're going to be at Mountain Land Supply's grand opening in Eagle Mountain, 766 East Split Rock Drive. So you told a great story, and why don't you retell it here for people, because it's kind of the basis for this segment. Why don't you go ahead and retell this so we get people up to speed. This is a classic.
Well, last Thursday, I got up, came in, did the show. Then I went home, had some pancakes.
Too many details.
What is going on here?
He's just in a mood.
It's only 7:47. It's not 9 o'clock yet.
I was waiting for the face, the look, and I got it.
I know, yeah, yes. The nice part is with YouTube, people can see the look now.
I knew it was coming. He kind of lowers his head a little bit.
This is so sad. This used to be a proper radio show. Now it's a hot mess.
I was at a wedding reception. Guy comes up to me and says, "You like golf stories?" So I got one, and he and his wife are telling me. So he's in Orlando.
How much longer is this after the pancakes?
It's hours.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
We jumped from 10:30 to like 5 o'clock.
So you're at this wedding. Wedding.
Yeah, a wedding reception. I'm hanging out, and the guy says, "I got a story I got to tell you." Okay, fine, yeah. And he and his wife were golfing in Orlando several years ago, and the sun's going down, and there's a twosome ahead of them, and so the twosome ahead of them invites them to play so they can both finish. Because you wouldn't have been able to finish otherwise, right? And that's very nice of those guys. He kind of recognizes the guy a little bit. They have introductions. The guy says his name is Paul, and my guy says something along the lines of, "Where are you from?" And Paul says Liverpool, England. Well, there's only one Paul from Liverpool, England, and that's Paul McCartney. And sure enough, that's who it was. Now, I have some people say they have a hard time believing it, but why would the guy randomly? I mean, he knew who I was from work.
Right.
And
also, his wife is standing there.
And she looked as pure and innocent as could possibly be, and she was nodding along.
If the guy's full of it and he's telling some story.
She's not going to allow it.
No. And she can't. Does she have the BS factor to pull it off with a straight face?
No, not at all. If you would have seen
the vibe's just all wrong, right? It's just all wrong. Yeah.
The purest skin, like the driven snow. She looked like an angel.
Paul McCartney's in the group in front of you and waves you up because you probably won't finish if he doesn't wave you up. And he's looking at the sun. He's like, we can let those two play and join us.
Yeah. And it's friggin' Paul
And so the
McCartney.
story is he was there for some kind of big extended family thing.
Apparently, his family was going to Disney World, and he tells my guy says, well, what's up? And he says, well, I don't like crowds. And I don't know if it was a joke or what. The guy's been surrounded by crowds since he was 20 years old. I mean,
that doesn't explain Shea Stadium.
That could be, when he dies, that literally will be an international story of
absolutely.
epic proportions.
Absolutely.
He's 83, and he's still touring. In fact, he just put out an album. It's literally out for days
and
now.
he's been out promoting. He's been on a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I went to a concert of his a few years back, and they have our email, so they send us stuff constantly when we bought the tickets. I saw him in Vegas, and and he said that Paul let him use his 3-wood. And so he must have been extremely accommodating. We know Paul's a sports fan. He's been photographed at
lots of games.
And I told you that Chad Lewis was in the suite next to him when the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona, and Chad shared the picture with me of him and Paul. So that is a topper. And I talked to Jay Drew about it, and he working for Desert News, covers golf, and he said, boy, that really tops my story. And he did a pretty good story. That he was at the U.S. Open in 2019, and he was going to get on a shuttle to go from where the clubhouse area, I guess, or media area, over to the 10th tee, which apparently at Pebble Beach is a decent hike. And he goes to get on the shuttle. The guy says the shuttle's just for players. Well, Fowler's there, and Fowler was the only one apparently, and Fowler says, no, he can come on. So he rides over with Fowler, which is a cool story.
That is a cool story. I wouldn't mind hopping on a golf cart with Ricky Fowler at a U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Sweet.
They're not going to have the Century in Maui anymore. But we went over there a couple years back, and my wife actually she's got a crush on Fowler, and she walked several holes and talked with his parents. They were talking about pickleball and all sorts of things. They were just
Your wife and pickleball.
They were having a legitimate conversation, a leisurely conversation as you're walking holes there at Kapalua. So that's a cool story. And then afterwards, she got her picture taken with Ricky, and that's a cool story.
Nice.
But man, my goodness, this tops them all. I mean, I've golfed, got Frank Layden and some other guys, but nothing to the level of this.
Listener says he gets paired up with Paul McCartney for a few finishing holes golfing in Orlando several years ago. What is your best story? And we got a lot of people, and there's some decent stories here. I don't think they're Paul McCartney level, but they're pretty good. Brady, John Stockton and Fred Roberts were at a movie theater in Provo. They said hello and talked to us. John was really nice to us. We were only in the 8th grade, and it made our day.
It had to be the younger John Stockton.
He's with Fred Roberts, so I'm assuming Fred's on the team. So, yeah, I would think younger John Stockton. It's older John Stockton.
No, because I got a story that is exactly the most complimentary towards John.
Elevator Hotel, San Francisco. Yeah.
But that was when he was a different person. Now
that was mid-90s or late 90s?
Yeah.
But see, Fred Roberts on the team. Now we're back into the mid-80s.
Mm-hmm. I've seen Fred recently twice. I saw him at Wasatch, and then I saw him at Red Iguana.
Were you eating breakfast on the deck up there, or were you golfing?
It was a golf. He was walking in, or I was walking out, vice versa. Yeah. And then he came in, I think he'd pick up some food at Red Iguana, and we were waiting for a table.
More golfing stories. Caleb said, I was golfing with my dad, and I looked back, and there was Dennis Pitta.
All right, Dennis Pitta, my guy, our guy.
Hey.
College Football Hall of Fame nominee Dennis Pitta.
There
That
you
came
go.
out yesterday.
Dennis Pitta, sure.
We've been golfing and looked over and it's like, is that a BYU football player over there? It's got to be.
It's Brian Keel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you took the cart and raced over there. What's up?
Yeah.
And then he hit a ball 300 yards, and then we went back to what we were doing. Caleb has another brush with greatness. So he was once at a Jimmy John's with Big T Thurl Bailey.
Oh, Thurl is everybody has a Thurl.
Everybody has a Thurl story. Yeah.
I was going to say, he's got to be the most ubiquitous of the bunch.
He's about as accessible as could possibly be. I've golfed with Thurl. I saw one time at Jordan Commons Theater, he was off in the distance, and he was walking out, and I saw somebody recognize him from behind, and the guy sprinted over to be able to say hello to Thurl before Thurl got out of the building.
5 years of doing pre-half and post at Jazz games with Big T and with Pace, and without fail, Pace and I, after the pregame show ended, would get up, we would go either to our seats or to concessions to grab something or go to the bathroom, whatever. And Thurl would stay behind the desk signing autographs. People would bring a lot of stuff. I remember he signed a lot of promotional stuff because he did the movie Play Goliath. And there's a lot of promotional stuff with that. People would always have posters and stuff. But basketball cards and, whatever else too.
Yeah.
Headbands, clothing.
If you don't have your picture or autograph from Thurl, it's because you don't want it.
Yeah. I wish there was some kind of odometer on all the interactions people had with Big T and with Jeff Hornacek, because gazillions.
Those are common guys in a
Yes.
sense, and I mean that in a complimentary way.
Right.
They don't think of themselves
They're not
as
going to
anything
big time.
special.
There's no way either one of those guys is going to big
They
time
happen to play
anybody.
hoop, but
Yeah.
outside of that.
Jeff said once, I was asking him about the interactions, and he goes, he says, I don't know why people handle it the other way. This is the easiest way to handle it. Everybody thinks I'm doing it for them. It's the easiest for me. He said, in Phoenix, if you don't have my autograph, it's because you don't want it. I've been down there a million times, and people just come up and whatever. Just, yeah, sure.
Well, he lives there.
Yeah. But in his playing days, he said he signed so many autographs his first 2 or 3 years.
when he was playing?
Yeah, the conversation was he signed so many autographs the first 2 or 3 years he was there. He didn't have to sign them year 5 because by then, if you had it, if you wanted it, you already had it.
Yeah, Hornacek is a dream guy.
Yep.
No doubt about it. He's a great guy.
Okay, so now Brian put himself in an environment where you're going to have more brushes with greatness, but this is still pretty cool. He says, when I was coaching in the TBT basketball tournament with Marshall alumni, we're in the finals in Philly. I got into an elevator, and there was Alfonso Ellis.
LaFonso.
Yes, he said Alfonso.
I was going to say, pretty sure it's LaFonso, but okay.
Oh, when you said Alfonso, I thought the guy who was the dancer dude with what's the guy who got smacked in the face by Chris Rock? Will Smith.
Oh.
That TV show.
You mean Will Smith who punched?
Will Smith, yeah.
Yeah, that TV show where
Will hit Chris.
Oh, yeah.
What's the name of the TV show?
You're talking about Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yeah.
From Fresh Prince of
okay.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince, yeah.
Yeah, Alfonso.
And he does that dance.
Yeah, but yeah, Alfonso, LaFonso.
I thought that's what I thought you were going to say.
No. When you say Alfonso, you're like, oh, Ribeiro? Okay, yeah.
Brian said, hey, Denver Nuggets. And he said that Ellis is like, wow, nobody said that in years. Because now he's been doing a lot of college basketball. People are talking to him about college basketball all the time. What do you think about the team and all that kind of stuff? And so people aren't really bringing up the Nuggets thing. And he said, well, I was stationed in Colorado when you played there. He was in the Army.
Oh.
So, and then he coached against them the next night, and they won the championship. Ellis's team won the championship. He says about an hour later, I ran into Fran Fraschilla at our practice. That was a great experience.
Fraschil's another very
when you're
guy.
when you're at the basketball tournament and you're in the final, there's going to be more people to bump into. You're giving yourself a pretty good chance there.
I have to myself. I can't claim brushes with athletes. I have too much access to them.
Yeah, right.
So
I get
really
it. It doesn't count. Yeah. Fran Fraschilla was super nice. I ran into him at an NCAA tournament in the hotel lobby. Again, doesn't really count. But it was when Travis Hansen was playing. And he said, who are you here covering? And I said, we're from Utah. We're here covering BYU, and he goes, "What's the kid with the platinum hair? He's got some street in his game. I like that kid." He got all fired up about Travis.
He does, and he did.
Yeah. Here's a good one. We'll end on this one. Steve, my buddies and I worked on Redford's Ranch in the late 70s. We were getting ready to hydro seed, and John Havlicek and his wife were walking up the road from the guest house. We also ate lunch next to Gail Goodrich and his family down at the Sundance Lodge, but we didn't know who they were until our boss told us afterward.
Gail Goodrich?
Gail Goodrich.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Might be unassuming. I know a guy who worked for years at Pelican Hills. Now, Pelican Hills is a golf course hillside in Newport Beach. And obviously it's got ocean views. And he told me there was celebrities galore were there. Saw him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was a marshal there. He now works at one of the St. George courses. He's retired. And he told me, and so I said, well, give me some stories. So he gave me a few. And he said the nicest guy that he ever encountered working there for many years was Bruce Willis.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And obviously Bruce Willis has had a ton of
health issues, big time. Yeah.
It's sad.
But that is sad. But it is also really cool because there was a time that Bruce Willis, he was about as big as it got. His action movies came out, and people flocked to the theater, and he got paid big money, and people spent big money, and
absolutely.
He was right in the middle of the Hollywood machine. Even now, it's 30-plus years, maybe almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Die Hard, is it a Christmas movie?
But
and we can all quote Bruce Willis lines.
He loved Bruce Willis.
Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, we'll take a break. When we come back, Greg Wyshynski joins us, senior NHL writer at ESPN. Get his take on Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. The team that knocked Utah out is 3 games away from the title, 3 wins away from the title. We'll talk with Greg about that. Stay with us.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's time to welcome Greg Wyshynski back to the show, senior NHL writer at ESPN. Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Greetings from Raleighwood here in North Carolina. It's a glamorous place. I know that the other city in this series gets a lot of shine for being glamorous, but let me tell you what. Raleigh, North Carolina, baby. That's the glitz and glamour in this series.
Well, we know when they wanted to go big time, Andy and Barney would go into Raleigh, and they'd party.
There you go. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. I've been thinking a lot about Mayberry lately because of the death of Ted Turner and the fact that the Andy Griffith Show when I was a kid would start at like 6:05 on Turner Broadcasting System. And the reason he did that is because he didn't want people flipping around the channel. So I've been thinking a lot about Andy and Barney lately, actually.
And Barney had to watch out because they say nothing good happens after midnight. I think for Barney, a lot of times nothing good happened when he went to Raleigh.
Well, a lot of good stuff happened for the Golden Knights last night when they went to Raleigh. Let me tell you that.
I would say a lot of good stuff happened to you. I'm sure you've covered good games, bad games, and mediocre games. That was pretty wild. Literally from the opening minute. And the thing that shocked me is these two teams defensively have been awesome. The last 2 series, I think Vegas given up 2 goals a game, and Carolina's given up less than that while going 12-1 in the Eastern playoffs. And then 9 goals? I mean, what the heck happened? Yeah. I mean, obviously there are a couple of really bad giveaways that you can't say, well, that's on the defense because the giveaways were horrific. But nonetheless, there were some major mistakes.
It's a combination of 2 things. I mean, I asked Seth Jarvis of the Hurricanes that question last night, like, did you expect there to be this much scoring? And he said, look, man, this is like 2 really good, deep offensive teams. Like we know what Vegas has, where they've got guys like Thomas Hertl and Mark Stone playing on their third line. But, Carolina was the best offensive team Rod Brind'Amour ever coached this season insofar as their offensive depth. So it was there on both sides to have this kind of game. But that being said, I think a lot of people expected game one at the very least to be a bit more of a chess match. And I think you had the other part of the equation last night, which is that the Golden Knights forecheck and pressure really rattled Carolina into making some regrettable mistakes all over the ice. And on the other side, as much as obviously Freddie Anderson had a rough go of it, giving up 5 goals, I thought Carter Hart was a sieve last night. Like, I was very unimpressed with the game that he had. And there were some goals that he let by that he probably should have stopped. So all those things combined for it to be an incredibly high-scoring game one, which, for those of you who wager out there, beat the over in the second period, which is not something that you'd expect between these two teams.
Yeah, that's funny when you say that in the second period. You look at now obviously we've been following Vegas very closely because that's going to be forever and ever the Mammoths' first playoff opponent. And, it was a tight series. It was fun. The last game got away a little bit, but, they were actually up in the series for a bit. And so we kind of think, oh, well, the Mammoth, man, they're going to end up giving them the best round or series. We'll see how it plays out. But Vegas, to me, with the coaching change, with just a few weeks to go, I'm wondering, how did they catch this lightning in a bottle like this?
So that's a great point, which is that it is lightning in a bottle, and I think that the Utah series might have been when they were the most vulnerable. Tortorella comes in with, what was it, like 8 games left in the season, and he takes over, he puts in his system. They're still learning it. They're still learning about each other. Carter Hart, I think, like I said, he had a rough ride last night, but his round one was his worst round. He's gotten progressively better as the playoffs have gone on. Torts came in at a time when things were starting to kind of trend in the right direction a little bit for Vegas, especially from a health perspective. The return of William Karlsson, their lineup, a guy that was one of the original Golden Misfits back when they were an expansion team, really kind of resets their lineup in a pretty great way. It allows Mitch Marner to play on the wing. Karlsson's a great two-way center. It really allowed them to sort of reset their lineup in the way that it should be. And so they're getting healthier. They're playing a little bit better. Torts comes in. He gives them the kick in the rear that they need to kind of focus on their details and play aggressive hockey. And again, like Utah caught them at the right time. I think the first round was when they were most vulnerable, but then you see what they did against Anaheim, and then obviously you see what they did against, half of Colorado, because the other half should have been in a hospital bed during that series with how many injuries they had. And then we see last night the trend continues.
There's a part of me that looks at this and thinks, well, Utah was basically in the middle of the standings in the regular season, and they didn't have any playoff experience. They got knocked out in the first round. There's clearly a tier teams in the West that are better than them, and it's a long road to go. But then you watch what Vegas is doing, and you're thinking, how big is the gap given the random nature of the sport and the playoffs? We've seen hot teams before. Like, how far away are the Mammoth? I'm trying to read this.
Well, there is a gap, and I think one of the things that you heard from people after watching that Vegas series from around the NHL is, the size differential between Vegas and Utah and Vegas, some other teams in the West. I mean, if there's a trend in the NHL, it's this big physical team. Florida winning back-to-back cups with the way that they played, Vegas playing the way that they play with a bit of size and skill. And so, that's one thing that maybe Utah should take away from that series, is just to kind of maybe get a little bit bigger. But the other thing that's really interesting about Utah right now, and if you want to use Vegas as the proxy for this, Vegas has built this team not through the draft and not through prospects, but by trading away all of those things to get elite players that are in their prime. And, one of the things that Bill Armstrong's going to have to kind of figure out is how much of this deep prospect pool will eventually bubble up to be on the Mammoth roster, and how much of it could he then turn around and trade to upgrade parts of his roster in the way that Vegas has been aggressive, and in some ways in the way that Carolina has been aggressive too in making some of those deals. So they're blessed with a lot of really good players down, in the minor leagues and college and Canadian junior. They're just going to have to start to figure out whether they're going to let these guys ripen and be part of the team at a low contract cost, or turn them around into higher priced veteran players.
Of all the playoff sports that we have, the most fickle thing in terms of momentum, I think, is found in hockey. Get your opinion on it. We talk about momentum, but momentum can change so quickly in hockey. Is there really such a thing as momentum?
I think there is. And John Tortorella actually mentioned that in his press conference last night. Yeah, the idea that, and I think in his case, momentum is like, let's take care of these guys before they figure out what they did wrong. Carolina's a good hockey team. I mean, they were 12-1 in the Eastern Conference. They got out to that 2-0 lead last night. You could tell that they were rattled. You could tell that they were off their details, and there are things that they can clean up. And I think what Tortorella is saying is, momentum is on our side in the sense that we have a 1-0 lead. If we take a 2-0 lead back to Vegas, chances are we're going to win this series. But, now Carolina is going to have to really kind of dig in a little bit and figure out what was so magical about their run in the East, and can they replicate some of those things in this series against what is easily the best opponent that they've played. But again, like you said, I mean, momentum is a tricky thing in the NHL because, it could carry you through a few games in a series, or it's something that a goaltender could stop with one great night. It's always a tricky thing to measure when you're in the playoffs.
And I would have thought that Carolina was doing exactly what they wanted. I mean, they just didn't allow Montreal to get that many shots off, and they held Vegas to 4 shots in the first period. So in a way, I think they have momentum. But does that come back to where you talk about big physical defense, gave them problems, they lost the puck in some really bad spots, and that's why the momentum flips so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, the game plan last night for Vegas was pressure them on the puck as much as you can, hit them as much as you can in their own zone, disrupt the way they break out of their zone. And they weren't doing that in the first 10 or 11 minutes of the game. And then John Tortorella kind of went up and down the bench and in a quite animated way gave his guys a refresher on what they should be doing in the game. And then, like you said, I mean, Carolina was definitely doing Carolina things in the first period insofar as the restriction on shots on goal. But then you look in the second period and all of a sudden, Vegas had crept within like 2 shots of Carolina for the game. And so things definitely turned as the game went on, and Carolina was unable to do the things that they usually do to dominate while Vegas exerted their will. And so it's going to be on Carolina to either figure out how to get back to that puck control, spend all game in the other team's zone kind of hockey, or they're going to have to figure out something tactically to not get rattled when Vegas is doing that to them.
I look at Carter Hart, and he's been something that people have pointed to as stabilizing Vegas as the season went on, right? And as I'm watching, and then boom, the goal right off the bat, and then later on, I'm thinking this isn't one of his better games compared to what we've seen. But yet, after they take the lead, he gets that incredible save where he gets the glove on it and flips it up in the air. And I kind of thought, well, it wasn't his best game, but when he had to have it, he had it, right? Yeah.
And my mantra for the playoffs and goaltending is always like, you don't have to steal a series for me. You just have to not lose it for me, And so, there were moments last night where I thought Hart kept the Hurricanes in the game with some of the pucks he didn't stop. That one shot from Gostisbehere that went through a Vegas player's legs, that's almost an unscreened shot that he obviously should stop, and it nearly cost them the third period. But then he comes back and has that amazing save, obviously, on Jarvis later in the period when they needed it. And, beyond that, Mitch Marner with an incredible block with his skate in the waning minutes of the game to maybe prevent a goal. So you're right. I mean, essentially, the performance wasn't great. If you look at the analytics, he demonstrably had a worse game than Freddie Anderson, who I think his defense really let him down more than anything else. But he came away with the W, and he made the stops at the right time that they needed.
What adjustments do you expect in Game 2 from either team, or is it simply with Carolina more poise on the puck and Vegas just keep doing what you're doing, or are there going to be some wrinkles?
Yeah, I wonder if Carolina is going to tweak their breakouts a little bit, just try to change some things up tactically, because I think the Golden Knights have them game planned pretty good right now. Like I said, there are some things that are just going to get cleaned up naturally insofar as the nerves aren't going to be there. Maybe some of these guys aren't going to play as average games as they played in Game 1, and knowing that the stakes are now even higher with the Golden Knights leading 1-0 in this series. I think the pickle for Carolina right now is there's one part of their team that's really not working, and that's their top line with Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, and Seth Jarvis. They've been able to get away with that for 3 rounds, basically, because of how good the rest of the team is playing. But, last night, that outside of that one shift in the third where Hart makes that great save, they were a complete non-factor, and in fact were ineffective, giving up the puck after a minute and, less than a minute in the zone and turning the puck over. I mean, they were really bad. And the problem for them is there's really kind of no way to fix that line with breaking it up, because you don't want to mess with your checking line. You don't want to mess with Taylor Hall's line, because those have been great. And so those 3 have to kind of figure it out. And Rod Brindamore said last night, you need your top guys to hit the scoreboard. It's not good enough to be putting shots on goal or whatever. You need results, and that line has not gotten results for 4 rounds now.
You look at one of the stats you had in your story, 75%. You win, you go on here. So are you favoring Vegas? You still think it's see what happens?
I still think it's see what happens. I mean, I picked Carolina in 6. I'm not feeling great about it after Game 1, if we're being honest. But I'll stick with it. I covered Carolina for the last 2 rounds. I think they've shown a lot of resiliency. I mean, don't forget they lost Game 1 of the Montreal series in the conference final pretty spectacularly. And that was one where you're like, oh my God, is this a fraud, or are we watching a team that is going to see their fortunes change? I still think they did enough last night in a positive way that it encourages you. They can figure some things out. I love the way that they battled back in that game and, knotted up the score a bunch of times. But this is a different, they talked about it before the series that this is going to be a different challenge. And Jarvis said it last night. It's the Stanley Cup final. It should be your toughest series. And it clearly is. And they're going to have to really adjust to, depth of talent on the Golden Knights side, and also just how they can really disrupt what you do with that Tortorella system and the way that they pressure the puck.
It's interesting you say it's clearly the toughest series, because if you look at the regular season results, I mean, the East was so good with 5 teams over 100 points. And Vegas, I don't even know if they knew they were getting in the playoffs a month before the playoffs started. But here we are. You just think it's hands down this is the Carolina's biggest test.
It is. And here's the thing, there's a lot of people in the West that didn't watch the Hurricanes at all in the playoffs that really think they got an easy ride. And I'm like, no, man, that Ottawa team in the first round, people thought they could be a dark horse in the East, and Carolina swept them. And then the Flyers aren't great, but they had the league's hottest goalie at the time, and they got swept. And then Montreal comes hopping in, and they're on fire. They won 2 consecutive 7-game series. And after a bad first game that came after the longest layoff between 2 rounds the NHL has seen in 107 years, so they're a little rusty, Carolina kicked their teeth in for 4 games. So, I still am hopeful that we're going to see a bounce back here and have a good long series between these 2 teams, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's been some brevity in these playoffs insofar as the series go. But last night was discouraging. I ain't gonna lie to you. The depth and the aggressiveness of that Golden Knights team and the swagger with which they play, I think were things that Carolina maybe wasn't prepared for.
When I think of where you're at in the country, I think of college basketball and probably auto racing. I'm wondering, what's the level of buzz over this series? Is it just taking over?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is a place where they had a moment of silence before one of the games for Bush, and then they had the arena is literally on the NC State campus here in Raleigh. The buzz is interesting because I think when you go through some of these neighborhoods and you're visiting businesses, it doesn't feel like it does in some towns where it's inescapable, when you see flags all over the place and people in jerseys and stuff. But then, once you get to the arena, it feels like you're in the greatest hockey town ever. I mean, everybody gets there early to tailgate. People love this team. The arena is loud. You could probably count on one hand the number of Golden Knights fans that were in the building last night, which isn't often the case when you have a Stanley Cup final. You usually have people spending thousands of dollars to get into these games, but it wasn't the case last night. So I like this market a lot, and it, there's a certain amount of like sentimentality I have towards Rod Brindamore and his team. I mean, he's coached here for 15 years as an assistant and as a head coach, and that was after winning a Stanley Cup as a player in Carolina. I think there's some stat where there's only been 2 playoff wins that this franchise has had that he hasn't been a part of. It's crazy. So, there's a connection between this coach and the community, a connection between this team, the community, and it's definitely on display on a game night here.
And yet, you're going to get out of town just as it hits 90, and you're going to fly to Vegas, and it's going to be 105 degrees or whatever. So you say the sentimentality, but
listen, I live in Brooklyn. Summer in New York is lovely, but it's also like walking through a waterfall as far as the humidity goes. So I have never had an issue with the dry heat in Vegas. It feels like a sauna to me. It feels so nice, and so. I'm a big Vegas guy to begin with. I've always kind of connected with that town for whatever reason. It's been kind of a fun thing to have it be such a part of my life because the Golden Knights made the conference final in 5 of their 9 years of existence. And again, you talk about the environment here. I mean, as you guys know, the environment in Vegas for those games is just tremendous. So I'm looking forward to games 3 and 4 at the very least. Who knows how many we'll have after that, but we know there's at least 2 in Vegas coming up.
I'm looking, Greg, at a list from people from Matawan, New Jersey, and you're right there in terms of fame. Maybe Jim Jeffcoat. Do you remember him?
Jim Jeffcoat, yeah. Jim
Dallas
Jeffcoat
Cowboys.
is
Arizona State.
Yeah, and I believe they count Sonny from WWE back in the Attitude Era as being part of Matawan, I think, last time I checked. Yeah, no, I now here's the thing, though. I got an email from my old high school last year that said I had been nominated for my high school's Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And I had to put all this stuff together. It took a while. I think I might have missed a deadline, but I sent it in. I never heard back. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not that prominent at the end of the day.
I think you are. My high school doesn't even know I'm alive, so
Well, if you get in, man, my best man at my wedding got into the West Deptford, New Jersey, his high school Hall of Fame, and
you go.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a big soccer coach.
I assume that it's like baseball. There's a big room with plaques, and people walk around, silently in awe of the greatness of the alumni of Matawan Regional High School. But, I mean, they never wrote back. Unless it's in my spam folder somewhere, they never wrote back. So who knows?
Well, Greg, we appreciate the time, and enjoy the series and enjoy Vegas.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN. And what great state is he from, PK?
Jersey, man. And he has a thing for Vegas? Yeah, because you're from Jersey.
I've connected with that town for whatever reason. Probably the food and the Osmond shows would be my guess. There's an outside chance it's the gambling, possibly, theoretically.
I saw Donnie Marie at their show.
Is there more access to golf in Vegas than in Jersey? I mean, there's a lot of people in Jersey. They're like L.A., not a lot of courses, hard to get on.
Vegas golf is so dang expensive.
Yeah, everything in Vegas. It used to be Vegas was cheap because they wanted to get you there, and they got over that now, everything.
There's one course in Vegas, and I don't know why, but in their computer system, they have me as a resident. So they give me the resident rate.
All right. Guess where you play
Can you
a lot.
make a tea time for me?
And when in doubt, I have my wife go in,
and
she has a better chance of sweet-talking them into that we're residences. Yeah. But Mesquite will give you the St. George people the Nevada resident if you say you're from St. George. We found that out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because obviously they draw a lot of people.
As a local.
Yeah, I mean, they probably draw as many people from Utah as they do from Nevada.
Sure.
I mean,
they basically sit halfway between St. George and Vegas, so
yeah, and there's a lot of courses there.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, it's Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to see Britt Floyd in concert at the Maverick Center Saturday. We'll give them away on the other side of this break. Jerry Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston, will join us at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Look, private equity doesn't like to add costs. They like to limit costs because they have a bottom line that they have to hit. I just hate when you've got somebody who has been working in the marketing department forever or who's been a sports information director forever, and they're doing their job and they're busting their butt and they're trying to tell good stories, and those are the guys that are going to get affected.
And to me, it's just a direct response to BYU having all the money they need at their disposal, a built-in way to fund the program. There's nothing about this deal that screams win to me. I don't like the feeling of it. You know, Matt Hayes summed it up best at the end of his article. He said, this is the same Utah Athletic Department that wanted so badly to push out football coach Kyle Whittingham at the end of a 10-win season, but was willing to pay him $13.5 million over the next 2 years to do so.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We'll win a pair of tickets to see Britt Floyd in concert at the Maverick Center Saturday. It's this Saturday. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE.
The June 6th?
Yes, you're right. You are correct.
Football's going to be here before you friggin' know it, man. I just got my approval. Somebody in the company obviously credentialed me for the Big 12 media.
Lloyd was working on that Friday. I bet it was Lloyd.
I got approved.
Nice. Go get him.
Me and Barry Trammell, the geezers. Oh, I don't have the white hair. He sticks out.
Yeah.
Like the proverbial sore thumb. At the Star in Dallas, or a little north of Dallas, Frisco, but it's where the Cowboys do their stuff. They got a 12,000-seat stadium there.
Question of the morning. All about tonight in the NBA Finals, Game 1. How can any right-thinking Utah Jazz fan root for the Spurs to win another NBA championship?
Can't do it. No can do.
Mensch at Supermensch. I'll take the Spurs winning 100 times out of 100 rather than watch that human pustule and stain on humanity James Dolan hold up the O'Brien Trophy. Sounds pretty personal with the owner there.
They did it in spite of him, not because of him.
There are the old George Steinbrenner theory has been recycled. That Steinbrenner went away from the Yankees and was always there urging them, and they always trading away the future for the present, which was never good enough, and Steinbrenner got suspended. And that's when they held on to all their young guys and built the core that won 3 titles in a row and 4 out of 5. And Dolan is responsible for a lot of entertainment here in Utah. A lot of Utahns have gone to the Sphere, and he spent a couple of years building that, and the theory is he was distracted, and that's why the Knicks stopped doing nonsensical stuff and painting themselves into salary cap corners.
Okay, well.
So to your point, despite him.
I look at the product on the floor, and it's pretty good. I look, to me, my NBA is all viewed in the prism of the Jazz. That's what I'm paid for.
Totally get that.
And so having the Spurs win so young, so early, it scares me. Now, I want to see how New York guards him. There was talk, I was listening on the NBA Network this morning to try to get some stuff, and they were talking about, it's a very limited sample, but Robinson gave Wembanyama some trouble in that NBA Cup, and then when they played once in New York, we'll see if that matters, if that's something that can work to New York's advantage. And I would be, in a sense, if the Spurs do win, it's like, all right, Jazz, there's your obstacle. How are you going to beat them? And you're going to throw out a bunch of tall dudes, assuming Kessler's going to resign. Right now, if I'm betting, Kessler resigns and they draft Darren Peterson. I think
that's the most probable.
I think they have
come to terms with
and they're fine with it.
Right. Yeah.
He has the potential to be a major player.
The price to move up to get AJ. Well, first off, they figured the Wizards want AJ. There's that. And then the price to move up to get him is going to be exorbitant, and so they don't want to pay that. And so drafting Peterson at 2.
And
something could happen. You're not reporting
right,
this.
and this is today.
Right, it's today.
We still got 3 weeks to go.
Sure. And people get to change their mind.
Yeah.
New info.
I think they're fine with drafting Peterson. Everyone loves his talent, so that's not breaking news.
When Austin was on with us a while ago, he was saying, looking forward to getting the health reports on players. And he said it generically, but you're like, well, what? I mean, he wants to see everybody. They're going to pour over everybody. But who do you think he really wants to see?
Yeah, I think.
Who does he have the most questions about?
I think they would do their research probably on like 5 to 7 guys, knowing that, once you get a little lower, there's probably not going to happen. But who knows? Somebody could offer you some outrageous deal that puts you in that position, so you have to be prepared for that. It's like when you do a talk, you prepare. I've had to do 20-minute talks. Well, you prepare for 45 to an hour. You don't use it all, but you're still prepared for it, so you're ready to go. You don't want to be left short. That's what they're doing, and they're not going to use it all, obviously, and it's going to come down to who does the Wizards take, and maybe the Wizards come off of DeBonsa because there's still time to go. I don't have any sources in Washington. I could probably call somebody, but see what happens here. And I think that the Jazz right now sign Kessler, re-sign Kessler, and get Peterson in there and go with Markkanen and Jackson and George and Bailey, and then we'll figure out what other moves they make and which of those young dudes can be in the rotation, or younger guys, I should say, and away we go. And now you've got a measuring stick. You probably have it either way with the Spurs, but certainly if they win it in dominant fashion, well, I mean, you're going to have to roll up the sleeve type of thing there and shoot for that. And, I don't think that they're going to be beating the Spurs in the playoffs in the 27 season, but let's see what happens down the line. I don't think it's unreasonable. And maybe it's just because I want it. I want it to be. And I tend to do this. I tend to overestimate the locals a little bit. But what the Jazz can put out there has got me really excited to see what can develop. What are the possibilities?
I get why you say I don't think they're going to beat them in 27. But last year, at this point, when the Thunder were winning games but hadn't won the title yet, there's a whole thought, well, if they get this, they're so young, they could go on this huge roll. And a year later, a young team on its way up, coming together very quickly, beats them. So I wouldn't sit here and pick the Jazz to beat it either, but given the current era of the NBA we're in, and given your constant admonishments, probably with at least a kernel of truth to them, that I shouldn't worry so much about history. The rules have changed on the court, and the rules have changed off the court with a cap. It's just harder to keep teams together, and it's harder to, there's going to be 8 champions in 8 years. And part of it is the fickle nature of the three. You can analyze and logic everything out and space the floor, but sometimes it doesn't go in. And also, we're seeing more injuries than ever. Sometimes you don't have your team together, which to a degree the Thunder didn't have, and to a degree the Denver Nuggets had a problem with that along the way here. We thought when they won, they had a chance to win more. It didn't seem to be any reason they couldn't, but they didn't. There was some thought that Giannis and the Bucks might get a second one. They're going to be in the mix.
We always think that.
I know. So I wouldn't sit here and say no guarantees on what's going to happen next year. This year alone, the Thunder were supposed to be set up to get a second one. They have a little bad luck. The Spurs come along. I know. I totally agree. And the injuries were all over these playoffs. It wasn't just the Thunder who have them. When you have them, who you're playing, which guy is it? Is it short run or long? The Spurs had some injuries, but they got their guy back. And then Fox hit some shots.
Sure. And they can say, well, wait a second, we had injury too. I understand that.
Right, but they got him back.
They got him back in time, and Williams never came back, and then Mitchell goes down.
Yep.
And then you're out. And you know, you don't want to put too much stock in role players, but, you know, role players matter. I mean, the Bulls won titles on role players hitting huge shots. So and Robert Horry made a legendary career hitting big shots.
And no role players went with SGA in Game 7. He had a fantastic Game 7, but they just didn't have the second or third scorer, somebody chipping in 18, 21, whatever. They didn't have it.
Jordan used to call it his supporting cast. I can remember in his finals when he won in 1991, which is approximately, 35 years ago?
Exactly, 35 years ago.
I know. That's amazing to me. and I was there covering it, a younger guy, obviously, and I wrote a whole piece for the Daily Breeze on his supporting cast.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys matter. And, of course, with Jordan's talent, everyone was a supporting cast. Even if you were a Hall of Famer, Pippen was a supporting cast, which I think got under his skin, but nevertheless he was. Instead of relishing it, and we saw you were watching the dance, you said was whatever episode they were showing. Obviously, that was something that to this day bugs him. But, you know, not everybody can be the star. And because Jordan's star shines so brightly, Pippen's was dulled a little bit, but, you know, those are first world problems. I want to get to, let's see what the Spurs do and then get the Jazz against them and see how the Spurs react to all this length that they're going to have. And if you get Darren Peterson, I believe you can get a premier shot maker. And, wow, I 50?
50 what?
50.
50.
Wins.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's in play. That should absolutely be
that's
discussed.
A major jump.
That should be a goal. I totally agree.
But, you know, you're adding
you've been
two major pieces.
Kessler's out all year injured. Jackson comes in midseason but only plays 2 games, and you're hiding Markkanen. I mean, that's a lot of height and a lot of size in a sport where it matters.
I know.
I mean,
and Bailey's got height and length and all that. And he's on the come. He's what is he? 35%, 40% maybe of what he can become. And what can Keontae do to follow up an outstanding season? And just his body language, the way he was out there thinking, hey, I belong. I'm a man here. This is my place. I'm as good as whomever. You just see it in his eyes and the way he's been carrying himself. And that I see no reason why that subsides. Maybe it doesn't manifest itself to the level that it did because the team will be better and he might not have as many opportunities. But I don't care about stats. I care about winning.
That'd be the best possible scenario is the one you're describing right now. If he doesn't care about the stats, he cares about just be efficient with the shots you get.
Right.
If the FGAs are down, so what? If
you'll have an opportunity. You're going to be a player. You're not going to be some dude who's coming off the bench and can't do anything. And plus, if I get Peterson, well, that lights a fire under the guy too, man. Hey, over here, man. We sent you back, and you brought us back somebody who's after your position.
But also, thanks to positionless basketball, you don't have to get all petty. Just be really good and play the two of you together.
Right, but
Markkanen can play more minutes at the 4, backing up Jackson. Maybe Jackson's playing a few more at the 5, not a lot, but some. Maybe Ace Bailey's playing more 3, and you guys are out there together. I mean, there's lots of possibilities. But I get it. They are similar. There's a resemblance to their game. Their size. Who needs the ball? Who needs the shots? I mean, yeah, we can see all that playing out. But at the same time, if you're both really good, okay.
Yeah, that's
you
a
can
great
figure that
problem
out.
to have.
Yeah, you can figure that out, and you can figure it out pretty quickly.
Will Hardy to make that sure that everything meshes. I'm so excited at the opportunity to bring Darren Peterson in here and be a part of this team because I think Darren Peterson's game. I talked about how George may be, or Ace Bailey may be 35, 40%. Well, obviously at the pro level, Darren Peterson is 0% because he hasn't played. But what he can become to what he is right now, I think that there is a quantum leap there. And maybe I'm going way over the top on this, but I think he can be a premier player as a wing guy in this league in 3 to 5 years.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is game 1 tonight. You want the Spurs beaten. No reason to create a beast in the West.
Well, I do have a little bias in my New York Knick background. It's not like I'm a hardcore Knick suffer.
Yeah, but you got warm feelings from when you were 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever you were running around.
I do. Yeah. I do. I mean, Walt Frazier was where it's at when I was a kid. Even then, when you're 10 years old, you don't know what cool is, but I knew he had it.
The secret weapon tonight, OG Anunoby. Now, there are multiple stories. I don't know who to credit for digging up these stats, but if you dive into the analytics, I'm at dailyknicks.com right now, because why wouldn't I be? That nobody has had more success defending Wemby if they've matched up with him on 100 possessions. You know, they break it down possession by possession, who's guarding Wemby. And nobody's had more success. So is that some kind of secret weapon? And the thing is, you don't have to lock a guy down. So don't even get into that discussion. Nobody can stop him. You don't have to stop him. But if he goes for 40, you're in trouble. You know, if he goes for 25, maybe you got a chance. So really it's about if you could just impact a couple possessions a quarter, that might be the edge in beating them. And that's, I think, what they should be hoping for.
No, I get the point that you're making.
OG out there.
But at the same time, I think when we look at Wemby his career, when it's done, we're going to find the guys who had most success were when he was 21, 22. And as he got older and got better, they didn't have as much success.
Yeah, certainly I could see that. Yeah, and I think even inside a series, the stats are great, so 100 possessions or 100-plus possessions. Okay, so what happened on those possessions? Because guaranteed the Spurs coaching staff has this. And were there too many run in one part of the floor? Did they not try to exploit some other situation? There are guys you set up for shots by putting them on the weak side and letting the defense get in a scramble and getting the ball to them. There's other guys you want to have the ball in their hands running a pick and roll. And then the difference, with handoffs, that can be a little trickier for some guys to defend. And coaches take deep dives into all of this stuff. And so inside of that, why did he have success in 100 or 125 or 150 possessions, whatever it was? Why did he have that success? And did he have the same amount of success? I mean, they'll be tweaking all that stuff.
I want to see the Spurs have a bunch of athletic wing guys, how they defend Brunson and what Brunson does to get himself free with his ability and his knowledge.
He'll push off.
But he's not that strong against guys that are bigger.
He knows how to bump.
He can nudge.
Exactly. But he knows how to
not push.
He knows how to bump and push off. Not a lot. He's not big enough to throw you to the ground, but just so that you can't quite gather yourself to jump or jump as high. And it gives him just enough. Super, super savvy. I mean, he's got the microcomputer upstairs figuring all that stuff out. You don't get where he's gotten, the NBA Finals, 20 points a game, at 6'2", unless you've got a real good feel for all that stuff.
Yeah, he's a master.
He's got to be at the top of his game because, to your point, yes, that's...
Oh, he must be.
That has been... Everyone talking about the Spurs is like, did they finally have enough athletes with enough size to run enough people at Brunson to slow him down? Again, you don't have to stop him.
Well, potentially they do. But how does Mike Brown and his guys get Brunson in a position to overcome it? That's a little chess match thing there because... As we've been talking about, the Spurs are an assembly line of 6'5".
So at Brunson at 6'2", is he going to be playing against bigger guys every possession, but guys who will play him a little differently, who are a little different.
And who doesn't want Brunson to succeed? He's a second-round pick.
Absolutely.
Now, he's early second round.
And I think people root for the little guys. I pick against them all the time, but don't think I'm rooting against them. I wish Steve Nash had won the title. I wish John Stockton had won the title. I wish Gary Payton had won in his prime with Seattle.
Steve Nash to win.
There you go, the suspension.
Yeah. And San Antonio needs to pay for that.
I think that eventually these guys.
Yeah.
Some of them.
I didn't say guys. I said San Antonio.
Right. What year was that? Was that
It was a while ago.
It was either 05 or 07.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I I just think some of these players may not have been born.
Doesn't matter. I said San Antonio needs to pay for it. The entire city. Cisneros
Alamo
needs
Heights.
to pay for it.
Feel the pain.
Popovich needs to pay for it.
Okay, that one. Yeah, there we go. It's all about Wemby. They've broken down Wemby's numbers in wins in the playoffs. Wemby scores 28 points a game and losses 14. And wins, he has 12 boards. And losses, he has 8. And wins, he shoots 46% from 3. And losses, he shoots 39. Oh, excuse me. He shoots, start again. His shooting percentage goes from 55 down to 39. The three-point percentage goes 46 down to 18. So Wemby is night and day different in wins and losses. Slow him down. How can you do it?
Pray.
Okay. DJ and PK, when we come back, spring football tour. We're going to Houston. Cougars coming off a good year. Can they up the ante? Houston to the conference title game. Houston to the playoff. We'll talk with Jeremy Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. Next.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
DJ and PK, we are joined now by Jeremy Branham, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. Houston is coming off a 10-3 season. They've got their quarterback back. They got the coach back. They've got very high hopes. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning.
Jeremy,
you guys are doing well.
We are doing well. Did I underestimate the enthusiasm for Houston Cougar football this year?
No, I don't think you underrated it. Yeah, everybody's excited. You know, it's been a little while since Houston was, I would consider them, a contender at the top of their league. Yet last year they kind of proved a lot of doubters wrong, certainly had more wins than many anticipated them having. And they return a good chunk of the players that won 10 games last year. So, no, I don't think you undersold it at all.
One guy that I'm extremely intrigued about is this running back, Hughes. Now, he was at Oregon, but before that, he was at Tulane, and he ran for, I think it's about 1,400 yards each season at Tulane. And it just so happens that his coach at Tulane is the coach at Houston. So he comes in my mind, as somebody to watch. What are expectations for him?
Yeah, I think probably what he did at Tulane, not necessarily in terms of the volume of stats. I don't think anybody's, hey, you got to run for 1,400 yards this year, but just to be the bell cow, to be the guy, to be RB1. You look at the numbers that he had at Tulane, and you would expect him to do that at Houston. But then you throw in the caveat that you mentioned that his head coach was Willie Fritz, and Willie really wanted him when he entered the portal. So he co-signs, the name, So he co-signs Mekhi Hughes to come into Houston and to be the number one guy. So I think that there's a lot of expectation for him. I think there's a lot of excitement for him. Grass isn't always greener, right? Didn't have the best year at Oregon. Oregon's got a stable of running backs that are all very good, had trouble getting on the field. But I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. And if Willie wanted him back, then he's a really good football player.
So if you got a running back that the coach really believes in, you got a quarterback everybody believes in with over 1,500 snaps of experience. Tell me how good the O-line is, good enough that they held some out, Shadre Hurst at least, maybe somebody else too, out of the spring game. So even though when you read the reports that it was kind of hit and miss with the O-line, well, it wasn't the first string O-line completely. How good is that O-line? How much depth is there? Because with really good quarterback and running back play, this offense could be flying.
Yeah, this will be the second year in a row that Houston is relying on the transfer portal to beef up their offensive line. You can look at that a couple of different ways. You'd like to build up that depth. You like to have the development on the offensive line. The other way you can look at it is you have a coaching staff that is good at evaluating, that can go into the portal and patch together a pretty good O-line. You mentioned Hurst, who, you look at a bunch of the different rankings of top transfers in the portal this past season, and Hurst is one of the top offensive linemen. So that was a big get. Ebiselli, you bring him back after he had a bit of an injury. Agnello in the interior offensive line is a guy that actually played a good amount last year on the offensive line for Houston. So it's a matter of evaluating the talent in the portal. Maybe I'm a bit of a homer. Maybe I have Cougar goggles, but Fritz has always been good at evaluating talent, especially in the portal, that they have college tape on. So it's a talented offensive line. It might be one of the more talented offensive lines they've had in a while. But anytime you're putting together a bunch of new faces, and the offensive line's about cohesion, it's a unit. It's a fist, not 5 individual fingers. You always have to worry a bit about how they're going to come together. But they're very talented. I think it's a talented group.
Defensively, tell us about linebacker Siona Fotu, who is from Salt Lake, played high school ball here, was at Utah for a bit, and is now with the Cougars.
Yeah, great story. Great kid. I do the Willie Fritz coaches shows as well, and we had him on as a guest last year. Just I think he wins fans over anytime that he speaks. He's got a great background. His story's phenomenal, and he's just a really good football player. Hard-nosed, he's always in the right spot. Is he going to be a top 3-round NFL draft pick? No. But is he that guy that you're going to count on in the middle of your defense week in, week out? Yeah. So he's just incredibly solid, a really nice piece to this defense that took a step up last year. And, being in his second year in the program, I would expect some more growth from him.
I would think that with first off, so many people in Houston and so much talent in Houston, that I would expect there's a heavy Texas flavor to this roster. But I start looking, and there's multiple, Louisiana, lots of kids from Alabama. They are casting. And then there are a ton of Texans, but Florida, and actually 2 kids from Utah, at least 2, maybe there's more, but I've seen 2 from Utah. So are they really building this as the hometown team, or you don't dare do that because Houston's so over-recruited?
No, I think they're trying to make it a hometown team, but you can't ignore everybody else, right? Especially in the era of the transfer portal. Yeah. Last year, I don't know if it's still the case. I would imagine it still is, but Willie would talk a lot about how ever since he took the Houston job, he hasn't had to jump on a plane to go recruit. And you can drive to Louisiana, maybe Alabama, but with the portal, you're not really, if a guy's a junior in the transfer portal, you're not going out to watch him.
Right.
You're watching his college tape, you're watching him on film. So no, there's a heavy emphasis on local players, and Willie would tell you that he still wants to build. He believes in high school recruiting. He believes in the development. He believes in that setting the foundation of his program. But you do need to fill holes. You can't ignore the portal in today's day and age of college football. So if they feel like they need a starter at position XYZ, he's going to go find a starter at position XYZ. But he totally believes in the foundation of the Houston Cougar football program being built by high school recruits in the area, specifically Houston. They recruit Louisiana well because he's had great ties in Louisiana, dating back to his Tulane days. So he believes in the local kid, and he believes in the development of the local kid, while also not ignoring that he needs to go out and find talent in the portal if it exists. So no, he believes in the hometown and in the homegrown player, which I think a lot of people in the program love, because they've always you ask Houston fans, build a wall around Houston, we could be great, which is true, but it goes back to your other point too about how it's a very recruited area.
Well, you speak of filling holes. It looks like they could have up to probably 5 transfers starting on defense, a couple up front, defensive line, and then on the back end, Jalen Mayo and Javion White. I'm assuming those guys come in and fill legitimate needs for the Cougars.
Yeah, especially at corner. You lose your McCutcheon last year was their best corner. You lose a couple of pieces in the depth there as well. So Mayo is kind of looked at as to be the McCutcheon replacement. Willie hired the corners back coach from Texas State where Mayo was at. So he brought him over with him, and then Mayo entered the portal and then came over, wanted to try his hand at playing a little higher level football. I said Texas State. It was Stephen F. Austin. Pardon me there on the Mayo and the coach. But, no, it goes back to the evaluating the player, right? I think that's what the transfer portal has kind of turned into is, you can bring in a collection of players, but if you miss the assessment and you miss the scout on the player, then you're probably wasting a scholarship. So if you can hit more than you miss, obviously you have a better chance of, being good in the portal. Willie was good at it last year. You brought up Wigman a little bit earlier. Several other players. Amare was really good, brought him in for the portal. So it's about evaluating the right guys that are going to fit your system. There's always going to be a little bit of the unknown. It's always going to be kind of a wild card, right? We really like what we see from this kid. We get a good impression from this kid. You vet it the best you can, but you never truly know. So it comes down to the coach's evaluation of the player. I think Willie's really good at it. Mayo's drawing really good reviews. There's a couple other transfers that will be key contributors, like you mentioned, on this team. It kind of all play out.
One of the transfers, and I don't know how much competition he has, is Evan Noel, the kicker. I mentioned 6-1 in one-score games, so the kicking game figures prominently. And Noel transferring in from Florida. Yeah, no, Willie's a special teams guy. He puts a major emphasis on the third phase of the game. He thinks that's very important. It is, right? I mean, how many? You mentioned the one-score games. The punting side of things can flip the field. The return side of things can totally change your average field position for a game. And Fritz is, he's into the weeds about all the numbers too. If he can start 5 yards better in his average field position, he's going to do everything in his power to get it done. He is pretty meticulous and about putting his team in the best position to give him the best odds of having a scoring drive. So he's a big believer in the kicking game. It's something he takes very seriously. If he put emphasis on a kid to bring him in, he values the guy. I know there's a Houston kicker on the team too that they brought in from the high school ranks. He's been in the program a couple of years now that probably will compete. But I imagine too that Noel will probably be the guy.
The quarterback, I think one of the keys to success on your team is look how many games your starting quarterback starts. And he started every one of them, right? And I think that makes a difference. And I got to admit, I wasn't sure what to expect, but he had a very nice season. I'm thinking, though, that was, obviously last year, and now he should be able to up his game there. How much more is expected of Wegman?
I think that's a fair assessment of him coming to Houston, and I think a lot of the fans didn't really know what to expect either. And they knew him well. Wigman's a Houston kid, went to high school in the Houston area. He didn't go too far at his first college stop. They're in College Station. That's an hour and a half away from Houston. So people were aware of his collegiate career and kind of, the ups and downs at A&M, where he had some flashes. He showed some things. But none of those 3 years he was there, I don't think you would, there's nothing really to write home about. So they knew he was incredibly talented, 5-star kid, oozes potential. Can he put it all together? Also had some injury concerns at Texas A&M. So can he stay healthy? I think was a fair question going into last year. And he answered them all. It was really solid, really solid. And kind of like we were talking earlier, I don't think he's going to be a top 3-round pick in the NFL, but a really good college quarterback. Knows how to run an offense, knows where to put the ball, had some good targets last year. I think he'll have some good targets again this year. I think you hit it right on the head with the experience thing. I think experience is vital for that position, especially playing Power 4 football. And you hear more of these NFL teams, too, that they want to draft these college kids that have played a lot of games because they feel they're more ready, no matter what their potential is or their talent is. So, his growth, I think he's playing pretty close to his ceiling. I think that he can cut down the turnovers maybe a little bit. I don't think that Houston wants to, be a team that, they're not the air raid. They're not going to run 100 plays a game. They believe in controlling the game. They believe in, managing the game. So I don't know if the numbers will look better, but I think, watching him run the offense could look a little bit smoother, although it was pretty smooth a year ago.
Jeremy Branham joining us, Houston Cougars football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston. You talk about having some good targets. I'm always surprised at how many programs don't seem to really value and recruit tight ends. A major matchup problem when you get the right guy, and a receiver who's right in a quarterback's face, usually easier throws. They tend to be big targets. Patrick Overmeyer transferring from UTSA, 6'5", 230. I'm not sure how he would have been overlooked and why someone like that, if he's really good, wouldn't have been in the Big 12 in the first place. Maybe he's a late bloomer or whatever. Does he just look great out there in spring drills? Do you think there's really something to him?
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think he uses a lot of potential. He was a bit of a late bloomer, and I think he played receiver even in high school, if I remember reading correctly, and then kind of grew into the tight end position. Redshirted his first year at UTSA, still putting on muscle and growth. Houston had a great tight end last year, and Tanner Koziel, as y'all know, led the team in catches, draft pick by Jacksonville. Houston does believe in the tight end, so you and Willie Fritz have the same mindset when it comes to that. Plus, you'll see Houston run some 12 personnel. They'll do some double tight end stuff. So they do value the tight end, and I completely agree with you. I think the tight end can be a quarterback's best friend. And Willie loves the size of that position too. But you saw that with Koziel. You'll see that again with Overmeyer. Overmeyer's best football is in front of him. 6'5", 230. He's a Houston kid as well. So another Houston guy coming back home. But the thoughts on him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. What I've read and what I've heard about him is that he looks a lot like Koziel. He hasn't had the production of Koziel. Maybe it wasn't a tight end friendly offense at UTSA. Don't watch a ton of Roadrunner football. But they think that he can I don't think he's going to have the year that Koziel had, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think it'd be tough for Overmeyer, whose career high in catches is 30-ish with 350 yards, to put up a 74-catch season. But I think he's going to be the bona fide tight end number one for Houston and take a huge step forward.
Tell us about this hotshot quarterback freshman who came on campus early, played well in the spring game. I think some people say he might be the number one freshman coming in at quarterback, and I don't know how much time he'll get this year, but seems like next year would be his time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him with 4-game rule where you can play in now in college football and still preserve a red shirt. I imagine we'll see him some. Do we see him in more than 4 games? I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see how they deploy him, and a lot of that will depend on the health of Connor Wigman as well. If Wigman gets hurt and has to miss a month, well, then Henderson's more than likely going to be your starter. But if Wigman stays healthy, I imagine they would like to preserve that redshirt year. We'll see. But yeah, it depends on which recruiting rankings you would look at. Some rankings had him as the number one recruit in all of college football, top quarterback in college football. Early in his high school career, and he went to high school here in the Houston area too. He was coached by Michael Bishop, who Willie Fritz coached in JUCO and won a junior college national championship with. So that's kind of the tie there between the Houston program and Keyshawn Henderson. But a dual threat guy early in his high school career. He probably wasn't respected as much for his arm. And then in his last couple of years in high school, everybody started to fall in love with his arm. Uber talented, can run. He's got a cannon for an arm. Needs the experience like we talked about earlier, needs the feel for the game. But no, he's a guy where he's got all the potential in the world.
Everyone, when they talk about the whole Sorsby situation at Texas Tech and Hammond getting healthy, points to Game 3, the conference opener, Houston at Texas Tech. How much anticipation is there for that game in Houston, and how much are people going nuts over the quarterback situation at Texas Tech?
Yeah, from the fan base, they're paying attention to it. I think the walls of the athletic office, they're worried about them. But from the fan base's perspective, it's fueling the fire. Tech and Houston has kind of become a pretty bitter rivalry over the years. You have the history, back in the day of the Southwest Conference. Tech and Houston would play some out-of-conference games too before Houston's arrival in the Big 12. So it kind of kept the rivalry alive. And then once Houston joined the Big 12, it's kind of made it a natural rivalry across pretty much every sport. Tech has had the best of Houston when it comes to football. So Houston, desperately wants to beat the Red Raiders. How could you not? And then Texas Tech, they look down at Houston. They're not at our level. So it's just the natural fun rivalry of college athletics that really goes across all the sports. So now you see some of the stuff where the fan bases mock each other for whatever it is, and certainly Sorsby's dominating the news cycle right now, and the rivalry between Houston and Texas Tech.
How much is there, and I'm sure this is, again, the coaches would never speak to this, but the fact that Houston doesn't play TCU, doesn't play Arizona, doesn't play Arizona State. I mean, it's really at Texas Tech and at Utah. Those are 2 big games, but the other 7 are manageable. And then if they get even one of the other 2 games, they're in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably you're right. It's probably more of the fan base conversation.
Don't play BYU either. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think the Big 12 is an underrated league where I think there's pretty good depth across the board, and you see some teams like Houston last year that was, a 4-win team the year prior, and then all of a sudden they win 10 games. I think you could see that from a bunch of different teams around the Big 12. What does Oklahoma State look with their first-year head coach? Does Aranda get a little bit of a bounce back at Taylor? Rich Rod in year 2. Deion's all wild card. Cincinnati's been a team that can win at a high level. Kansas State can be solid. UCF can be really good at times. So I don't really buy into a whole lot to the preseason strength of schedule, just because you have, especially now, especially with the transfer portal where you can get good overnight. I don't put a whole lot of stock in this team, their schedule in 2025 had this win percentage. That could flip upside down in 2026. So I don't personally put a whole lot of stock in that. I think from a fan base perspective, you probably do have some of that. Hey, get by this game, and then we're here, and then that gives us a chance to be here. I think that there's a lot of quality coaches in the Big 12 that can flip a lot of their programs, like I said, overnight.
All right. We appreciate the time. Jeremy, thanks for joining us and spelling out what you see with Houston Cougar football. We appreciate it.
You got it. You guys have a good summer.
All right. There's Jeremy, Cougar football sideline reporter and host on ESPN 97.5 in Houston.
You got them in the title game?
That's a pretty soft schedule, don't you think?
Yeah.
They don't play BYU.
They won 2 games last year against teams with winning records.
And they have to play 2 teams with winning records this year.
And they beat Oregon State in overtime.
Overtime, yeah. And they were 6-1 in close games. It could all fall apart for sure.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
But do they get to backdoor it by playing the bottom half of the league? They got to play Tech and Utah, but they miss BYU, they miss Arizona, they miss ASU, they miss TCU. It's pretty
ASU
soft.
returns 2 starters,
and they have a good coach and a good program. I would rather play Colorado than ASU.
2.
Yeah.
2.
2
starters.
Transfer portal enables you to 2
starters.
Transfer portal enables you to cover that up.
1, 2.
You think ASU's going to be a punching bag this year?
I wouldn't highlight, oh my gosh, they don't have to play ASU. And I pumped the brakes on that a little bit. Their best win was by 3 points against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a nice win.
It is a nice win. And they had a lot of close wins. And that may all snap back on them, and they might be 5-7 this year.
I get it. Take it easy a little bit here.
But this has been a league where teams have been picked to be bad and have gone 6-3 or 7-2.
And there's teams that have been picked to be good and have gone bad.
Yes.
Your serve.
And maybe it'll be Houston. That was a bunch of close wins. You don't tend to sustain that all the time. We just saw that with the Chiefs. 2 years ago, they won a bunch of close games. And last year, everything seemed to break against them. They had a losing season that nobody would have predicted. It is the nature of the sport. But optimism, spring, and hope in spring. You love baseball analogies. And college football is the same. It's like Major League Baseball. Spring training, there's hope for everybody. Spring football.
There was not hope for the Colorado Rockies in spring training.
The Rockies.
There was not.
Disaster.
There was little hope for the San Francisco
And you don't think
Giants.
there's any hope for the Colorado Buffaloes?
They don't have a baseball program.
In football, drawing the baseball-football analogy. I know they don't have a baseball program. They don't have softball either.
Can we just go back to saying 2?
2?
Dose.
I don't think there's any hope for Colorado. In terms of
Colorado football.
What's hope?
Going to conference title game.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's what we were just talking
but
about.
That's not their hope.
How much hope do you have for them going 7-5?
Colorado?
Colorado.
I don't think it's out of the realm. I mean, that's what I'm saying. there's various levels of hope depending on who you are. BYU, we're not talking about making a bowl game here.
No, we're not. No, BYU and Texas Tech, like we were talking about, they're not going to do the media poll, but if they did do the media poll at the Big 12 Media Day, I would expect BYU and Texas Tech would be heavy favorites, given who they have back, given what they did in the offseason, given what they did a year ago. It'd be really surprising. And the other teams will get shown the love. You're right, Arizona's got their QB back.
Yuck, how many starters does BYU have back?
Jeez, putting me on the spot here. See,
the number that came to mind, and I don't know, the number that came to mind was like 14 or 15.
9 on defense.
9 on defense.
Yeah.
That means they lost 2 starters. We're back to the number 2.
2. Dose. How many starters? Dose.
DJ, I think you actually know. I think they got 14 back overall.
I read it somewhere.
On defense. Devils only have 2 returning the whole team.
Or in Chinese, as they say, R.
I didn't know that, but thank you. I was actually trying to think French.
We're just going with 2 across the board.
As in Irish, they say 2.
All right. When we come back, everything you missed in this show next. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covers the Grizzlies for the Daily Memphian. He's Drew Hill.
I know there are differences in Memphis between regular season Jaren and playoff Jaren. And what did Grizzlies fans see from Jaren in the biggest games in the playoffs?
I thought it was a great trade for the Jazz. Jaren was not only one of the best players on the Grizzlies, but was also just one of the best people in the locker room. Like, the leadership skills were there for sure. He's going to have games where he's awesome, and then he's going to have some of these games in the playoffs where he's going to leave a little bit to be desired. The Grizzlies thought that they had a player that might be capable of being a number 1 on a playoff team, and I don't think he quite got to that point for them where they could trust that he was dependable enough in the postseason that you could sit back, give him the ball late in games, and he'd be able to get you bucket. It never really transpired that way.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
I doubled down on this. Just like Becky Hammond said, prove me wrong. Absolutely double down. Getting out of the East has never been a surefire to winning a championship. What y'all talking about? You get out of the East, you're supposed to get out of the East. It's the East. Of course you're supposed to get out of the East. That don't just mean you win a championship because you get out of the East. It's the East. Great. It's the East. We beat up Boston. You should get out the East. Happy for Mike Brown, by the way, but you should get out of the East.
It is time for the Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. That's Draymond Green.
You get out of the East. You're supposed to get out of the East. You get out of the East. If I was on Sirius Radio, I'd swear like he did.
The Celtics did win 2 years ago.
Oh, they did. That's a fact.
The Bucks won 5 years ago.
Okay, who won 4 years ago? Who won 3 years ago? Don't leave us hanging.
The East has won 3 of the last 7 and 4 of the last 10.
Which means jack squat tonight.
They are the weaker conference, but it is not impossible for them to win.
Wow, the rallying cry is prove Becky wrong.
There it is. Jalen Brunson, 6'2" guy.
How dare she dismiss Jalen Brunson, Becky Hammond, of all people. I believed in Becky Hammond.
And she's got 40 or 50 years of basketball history on her side, and she's probably got about 100 other great basketball minds who think that exact thing.
Becky Hammond was a freshman.
At CSU?
Yes, and I saw her make a move at the conference tournament. I still remember it. I remember what basket, and ooh, this young gal's
pretty
a
slick,
player.
huh?
Yeah,
Pretty slick.
I remember sitting in that gym. They may have been playing BYU Utah. Maybe I was covering it, or I was just there. But I saw her make a move as a freshman. Okay, she can play, and turns out now. And I wouldn't prove Becky wrong. They asked her a question. She gave an opinion. I'm never going to knock anybody for giving him. She could have just said, well, he's a very nice player, and we'll see what happens. No, she put herself out there. Yeah. So I appreciate it. And then I saw over the weekend she was complaining about foul disparity and used 2 swear words back to back. Did you see that, Yak? Holy freak. I didn't know they talk like that from the Dakotas.
I think the Dakotas are just fine.
Jeez. Over there in Las Vegas, man, you could tell somebody's got a little credibility to be able to say that.
All right.
She is the highest paid coach in the WNBA, if I'm not mistaken.
It's just simply the W.
Oh, sorry, the W.
We need more letters. You only got 26 letters. We got to talk about more than 26 things. You need more letters.
So with that in mind, we shall see, man. I can see it now. Hoisting the trophy. Beep you, bleep you, Hammond.
That would be awesome. If I were Becky, I'd stand up and take a bow. Like, sweet, I elevated myself above all these other people who thought the exact same thing but didn't say it.
San Antonio, no less.
Ooh, she's got ties there. You know who I'm rooting for. Yeah. She's on the staff there under Popovich.
Well, did she play there? Was that the franchise that was ultimately
the Utah
here?
franchise moved to San Antonio.
Did they move directly there?
Yeah, they went right to San Antonio, which are now the Las Vegas Aces.
Right. Yeah.
Game 1 tonight, 6:30. Can Wemby be slowed down?
Yeah.
Dramatic.
Let's get him some women in San Antonio because women weaken knees.
Rocky. I knew that was a movie line.
Thanks, Mick.
Struggled there for a second.
Oh, is Mick? I always thought it was Mick Jagger.
No, it's Mick.
Cut me, Mick. OG Anunoby, second team All-NBA. Turns out for people who've guarded Wemby for 100 possessions or more, he's had the most success defending him. And Wemby's productivity has been very different in the playoff wins versus the playoff losses. 28 points, 12 boards in the wins, 14 and 8 in the losses.
OG Anunoby was second team All-NBA?
All-NBA defense. All-NBA defensive team. And he shot 55% from the floor and 46% from the three-point line in the wins. Those numbers dropped to 39 and 18 in the losses.
So
Keep an eye on Wemby.
Just look at the stats, man.
Keep an eye on Wemby.
No, don't watch the friggin' game. Just look at the stats.
I think you should probably watch the game. That tends to be where the fun is. But if he starts off cold, it's usually a sign.
But, Mama, that's where the fun is.
Mitchell Robinson, Knicks center, undergoing surgery on the broken right pinky finger, is officially questionable to play tonight. Has that been updated, Yak?
Oh, he's going to play. Get out of town.
I've not seen an update on that.
I broke my
put
pinky
the finger in a brace.
here. See it?
Yep.
I never even went and got it checked. Finally, after about a year, he says, well, should have come in way earlier. You're just going to have to live with that. I dropped a weight on it.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know me and the weights. I can't get enough.
Hockey, the Vegas Golden Knights win Game 1. Down 2-0 in the middle of the first period. They rally and win 5-4. They beat Carolina. Game 2 tomorrow night. They score the game winner about 3 minutes to go. Noah Hurdle with the goal that wins it. We had on Greg Wyshynski. You love that because he's from Jersey.
He is.
Senior NHL writer at ESPN. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Your takeaways listening to him. I mean, we watched the NBA Finals through the prism of the Jazz. We're going to watch the Stanley Cup through the prism of your Utah Mammoth.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I like scoring, and I like clutch play. And it's funny, though, because you're watching that game, and obviously they get out to the lead right off the bat, blah, 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 and Vegas does come back. But as it got down to like 5 minutes to go, I just felt, it's weird, but I felt like
Vegas was going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to find it when they got a nifty pass, and Hurdle puts it in there, and then Hart makes a nice save with the big glove. It catches it, goes up in the air, and snatches it back down. And you could almost feel like he just went, whew, on that.
As Greg said, he did not have a great night. He let in some of those goals a little on the soft side. And he'd really been good late in the Western Conference playoffs, not so much in the first round against the Mammoth. They let in a lot of goals there. But he'd really been strong in these last 2 rounds. So, yeah, I can totally see why you get that read off the body language. He didn't think he'd be giving up 4 goals, and he definitely wanted some of them back. But he made the save he had to make for them to get the win. They could only be up 1-0 now, and they are. No style points.
Yeah, we'll see what that means. I mean, he had, I read Greg's story, and he had the 75% if you win game 1. But that means 25%.
25% chance you still don't win the thing.
Yeah.
You got him going on momentum. I just wonder in this, I mean, obviously Carolina has it because they're 12-1 in the playoffs and giving up like a goal and a half a game. So they had it, and they had the 2-0 lead. But Vegas had a fair amount of a momentum. I mean, sweeping Colorado, and they've won, let's see, what would it be? They were 8-2. So they've won 11 of 13 of the last 13 playoff games because they were down 2-1 to the Mammoth and won 3 straight. And they had 3 key OT wins. I mean, you give up that deflected goal or whatever in OT, you could lose a game, lose a series. And you could probably say that both about the Utah and the Anaheim series because I think that was 2-2 in Game 5 when OT.
That's why I'm not sure there is such a thing as momentum to the level that it compares in other sports, particularly in the playoffs. I don't know that we've seen momentum, like the Knicks. They're down big in Game 1 against the Cavs, and you could just see it building and building and building. You think they're going to do this, but I don't know that you can really see that in hockey. And I'm not even close to the hockey expert.
But you had the feeling they were going to do it.
At that point, you're right. Once it was like 5 minutes under. But I didn't have that feeling the whole time. But
Carolina scored with like 8 minutes to go to tie it up. And Carolina fought back.
I know. But I just felt like Vegas was going to do it.
When Vegas went up 3-2 and 4-3, both times I thought, okay, here they're rolling now. They're flying. And sure enough, Carolina fights back.
It just seemed like Vegas at the last 5 minutes were in better attack mode.
Yeah, I can see that. Anything else you want to tell the people? Poor Joe Adele had the Jose Canseco moment. Ball off the glove, off his head, over the wall.
I think it was a worse moment.
Because?
Because he's a better fielder.
Well, he is, for sure.
And he was, I think Canseco was sort of up against a wall.
He was running, Canseco was running more back towards the wall. It's a little disorienting. The ball's right over your head. So it seems like a tougher play. Whereas Adele had the angle, and he was headed into the gap, which seems like it should be easier. Yeah. Now, granted, Trout was coming over, so maybe you worry a little bit. You take your eye off it to make sure you're not crashing into him. Because he'll wreck you.
But they're the Angels. What difference would it make?
They
suck beyond belief.
It was an 8-2 game with the Angels and the Rockies.
You talk about spring training, having hope. The Angels didn't have it either.
Two worst organizations in baseball. You got to win when you want to put
the
up there
Angels
with them.
have just been an embarrassment
for a long time. Ohtani couldn't wait to get out of there.
And it bugs me.
They should be better.
Yeah.
They got money. They're in Southern California.
Artie
How complicated is it?
Another guy from Tucson. You just can't trust
those guys. Can't trust guys from Tucson. No. Yak, what do you got?
So there was a game scheduled between NC State and Virginia to be played in Brazil to start this coming college football season. It has been relocated to Charlottesville, Virginia, due to unforeseen issues, apparently, with moving that game down.
Well, I mean, they couldn't see them. That's why. If they were seen, they would have known them and been able to correct them. But they were unforeseen, so you couldn't correct them. You can't correct something that's unforeseen.
Thank you, PK. But yeah, so
you know what I mean?
Your international plan for
You think that's funny when it happens to me? Now you're not so amused. What? Am I right? Thought you'd appreciate that.
Finally, somebody's getting it from PK rather than me.
Oh, that was a good one.
All right, we're going to take a break. Leave on a high note, Costanza. When we come back, your feedback next. We got more people with stories trying to top. Well, they're not trying to top, but at least pull up alongside that Paul McCartney story. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Questions of the day. Had a listener says he got paired with Paul McCartney for a few finishing holes golfing in Orlando several years ago. What is your best story? Darrow says, I met Bill Murray at a Salt Lake Trappers game.
Did he have ownership in that?
He did.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
James says, I met him too. And then they went on to win the championship that night. See, that's again proximity. He owns the team. He's around more. It's not totally random.
Oh, like the time I saw Sonny Bono in his restaurant in Palm Springs.
So you were at his restaurant, so the odds go way up. Yes. If you've been at Taco Bell down the street, that'd be more random.
Although the neighbor kid ran into Jimmy Butler at the Chick-fil-A over by Southtown.
That's random.
Yeah.
There you go.
And got his picture taken with him.
Jeff, when I was student teaching, my master teacher was out one day, and when I walked into the room one morning, Bruce Hardy, longtime Miami Dolphins tight end, was sitting there. He was a sub in the school district.
I like to think of him as former Arizona State quarterback / tight end.
Bruce Hardy.
Yes. Where was this? Locally?
He doesn't say. Where was Bruce Hardy from? Was he the
Bingham?
Kid from Bingham? Yeah. And he did the Sports Illustrated cover with the 2-lane road that's now probably got strip malls, but then it was just all wild grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is like, it looked like the middle of nowhere.
I remember him because he chose to play for Frank Kush. And then I think they moved him, and then he played tight end in the NFL.
Mike says, I worked at a video store downtown back in the 1990s. Carl Malone was a regular customer. One night, he asked to use the store phone to order a pizza from Pizza Hut that he could pick up in a few minutes. After the call ended, we told him we'd stop by his house after work for his pizza party. He asked if we wanted pizza too, held out his hand for the phone. He called Pizza Hut again and ordered us a pizza or two for us to be delivered at work. He was always a good time whenever he was in the store.
Okay. Get some videos.
That was back in the day. That's what we did, right?
Yeah,
No streaming then. Just go down to the video store, pick out a couple of, you ever seen this one?
Yeah.
That conversation over and over.
Pick up some jujubes and away you went.
Jujubes. Very specific. How can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs to win another championship? Largely, people are rooting for the Knicks, I would say 2-1, and they are rooting for Jordan Clarkson. We're getting a lot of Jordan Clarkson comments.
And complete dismissal of Kelly Olynyk.
Yes. Kelly Olynyk is getting 0 references, but Clarkson's getting a ton of them. This is how I feel, Alan says, but my 16-year-old is cheering for them. He's not seen as much Jazz success in his lifetime, and to him the Spurs are young and exciting. But Alan's been around a while, and he is, as you say, how can any right-thinking Jazz fan root for the Spurs? Yeah, that's how he feels.
Right.
Not doing it. Aaron says, I guess in some way, if we have to beat down the Spurs in the coming years, it'd be nice to be the team that takes down the NBA World Champions. Well, on a personal level, of course, I want the Knicks to beat the Spurs like the mules they are. Oh,
it does look like that stuff is going to go through San Antonio.
Yeah, they may not win it, but you're going to have to beat them. They're not going to be an easy out.
Right.
Even if it gets
just like Oklahoma City was. They didn't win it, but they pushed the Western Conference 7 games. It's hard for me to say that. Well, this season was a failure. You didn't achieve your ultimate goal, obviously. But back-to-back, I mean, come on. How many times does that happen? It's hard.
I heard the stat. They are 71 and the Thunder went 71-14 against 28 NBA teams, and they went 4-8 against the Spurs.
You know, they're going to have to find a way to retool to beat them.
And that seems like the thing the Knicks are really up against. Is like this just seems like these are the two best teams in the league by a wide margin. And the Knicks better than the East by a wide margin. They've proven that.
Yeah, but everybody's been doubting the Knicks every step of the way, so why not one more?
True story. Nobody was sitting there saying they're about to win 11 in a row.
Right.
All right, we're all done. Coming up next, Scott Gerard, Tim Lacombe, Scotty G, and the coach. They're at Mountainless Supply today, the grand opening, Eagle Mountain, 766 East Split Rock Drive. They're next, right after the break on The Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.